and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed. Let's get into it. We have been discovering the map of human souls and our development. We're also using that map to understand the nature of human problems. And by putting those two things together, we have discovered the meaning of life. Hooray! That is, it's a single activity that is required to solve and address and solve human problems, and also use that freedom from problems to go on to reach our excellence. In fact, what we're learning is you can't do one without the other. You can't surface the blocks that you carry, that you're here to remove, unless you are seeking your highest goals with excellence. Equally, you can't reach excellence unless you are removing the blocks that get in the way of that development. So, cracking my back. So we need a map for that. We need a map to recognize that movement and the nature of those blocks. And that's what we've been working on. That map is called the Hypotheses of Parmenides. Of course, we have added to that tradition. Parmenides was Socrates' teacher, gave us a demonstration of the dialectic. If the dialectic is how we talk, how we think, how we reason, it makes use of what makes us evolved. Ousia, we have a capacity to reflect on ourselves. You might see YouTube videos about animals seeing themselves in a mirror, and it's funny when a monkey sees itself in the mirror, because it doesn't often reflect upon itself. Now, reflection is literally what a mirror does. And what's even cooler is there are some animals that have learnt to use talking buttons. So they're starting to learn words, how to use words to communicate. That's what makes us evolve. We can use our language and understanding in our reflection upon ourselves to discover our true nature and purpose, and discover what is a distortion of that's the cause of human problems. Now, we currently are not doing that because we are new to Ousia and Logos. We haven't recognized it's an art and a skill like any other that we should develop. And the reason why we haven't done that is because the cause of human problems are beliefs, and beliefs are not neutral. We see and act and function through our beliefs. But the specific kind of functioning that beliefs have, we have come to discover, is in opposition to understanding. Which makes sense. If you understand something for yourself, why would you believe somebody else? And it also makes sense of why those who seek to do harm are all belief-based. If you understand what is the good of something, how to fix an engine, how to fix a computer, how to get the excellence out of a skateboard, and someone comes along and tells you this bad thing is good, you can't be tricked. No, that's actually bad. But don't you believe me? Don't I have on a funny hat? Aren't I wearing a red tie? Don't I drive a Bugatti? Equally so, the other cause of human problems is either A, the goal is bad, but through belief we've been convinced it's good, or B, this bad thing will actually cause a good thing. The bad thing might be bad, but it's a necessary evil. Punishment is an example of that. By inflicting suffering on someone, somehow it will make them good. And of course, we have done a dialectic on this already several times in this book. That was an important section of the book. It's tied to sin, it's evil, that is punishment. Human beings can be okay with and even justify punishment so long as they pretend it has a good outcome. Now, if you understand punishment, you will see that's a lie. Understanding only teaches people not to get caught. And of course, what we're supposed to do is make mistakes and reflect on it to make change. So, belief is necessary for harm. That's why We currently live in an unjust world because politicians are all based on belief and manipulating the beliefs of others. Same thing with religion, same thing with capitalists. We believe that we could all be billionaires one day. If you understand how money works, you'll know that's not possible. We believe that there is only one alternative to capitalism, and that's fascism or fascist communism. If you understand anything, you'll realize that's not true. So, belief-based. We don't have a system of understanding to demonstrate that a politician understands the health and excellence and the development of the soul, which they should, which includes understanding its ideal, which is in a direct experience of pure intelligence. Second hypothesis, with its understanding. Third hypothesis, we don't demand that for politicians. We don't demand that for religious officials. And until we do, we will live in an unjust world. But of course, we are doing this reading for our souls as well. You have rulership over your own soul, over your own life. Therefore, make sure that the part that rules your soul isn't your beliefs or fifis or feelings. And feelings are important. Feelings can be positive intuitions. That's a high cognitive function. But I mean what feels true according to your beliefs. Make sure it's your reasoning capacity of understanding that is ruling. We call that following the logos. And of course, all of the virtues involve following the logos. The courage to do so, the temperance to keep your cool while you're doing so. Wisdom is the knowledge required to follow the logos. Justice is doing it at all times. And those are the big four virtues. And of course, what we've been learning is there are the archetypal class of unfolding into reality has 5. So that opens a question: what is the mysterious 5th virtue that stands apart from all others? Now, if you're familiar with Socrates' last day, the Phaedo, he calls this phronesis. If you're not reading the Balboa translation of Plato, then you will have missed it. Because the word phronesis, the highest virtue, the virtue that we all seek, the virtue of self, is hilariously mistranslated in all sorts of crazy ways through all of the non-Balboa translations, but fortunately you can find a free copy of the Balboa translations of many of Plato's works, which do have the word phronesis, sometimes translated as mindfulness, but you can see it's often put in purple with the Greek underneath it, so you'll start to become familiar with the Greek word for phron, the root for phronesis, and you can come to discover the 5th virtue that we seek, what Socrates calls the real virtue that we trade all the other virtues in for. We use them like gold coins to trade it for something of real value, even justice and wisdom, which is interesting. So, given that belief is necessary to manipulate people to act against their own interests or to do bad things, in principle we seek our good. Therefore, because we allow politicians to say, well, I believe it, and not demonstrate an accurate, verifiable, provable, demonstratable understanding of the development of the soul, and equally so for religious officials, any old idiot. And if you've ever met a politician or a religious official, it can very much surprise you how stupid they are, and yet how confident in their stupidity they are, and how many people they influence out of that ignorance and stupidity. I'm sure there are some good ones out there, maybe, but in principle, it's not good. Belief is, by definition, an opposition to understanding, which is required to actually understand truthfully the good and what reaches it. And of course, that's what we've been learning on this channel. What is understanding? So, given that understanding works against belief, and many people are and this is the reason why we're in our problems. Even though that makes sense, we accept this. You have to demonstrate understanding and never belief to be a mechanic or a doctor or a surgeon or a pilot or an architect or any profession. For some reason, We allow politicians and religious officials and capitalists who have the power over our society to not fall under those guidelines. It can be just any old stupid belief. That's the nature of human injustice on society, within society, but also we carry a similar sort of problem within our soul. The beliefs that we grow up with, which we identify with, function in opposition to understanding and therefore in opposition to our own development, our own goodness, and our own benefit. That's the nature of human problems. And until we realize that belief ain't neutral, it's not a pretty flower that has no effect on the world. We think and function and act and talk through our beliefs, and beliefs by definition have to oppose understanding. Until we realize that, we will continue to suffer, and maybe our species goes extinct. Our relationships will suffer, our lives will suffer, and as Socrates points out, so too will our death not be good and our reincarnation not be good. But the good thing is we can learn understanding, and we can also use that understanding to purify our false beliefs. And that's exactly what we've been doing here on this channel, and in particular with this book, which is a fucking banger. So all of that we've just reviewed really quickly at the top of this episode has been the work of 170 something episodes of reading this book. That's how carefully we read this book. And as a result, we have the map, which allows us to identify where belief and understanding sit. And what we're doing now is, now that we've recognized that understanding is what is our intended function, in that it's our highest evolved capacities, ousia and logos. We've realized, therefore, it should be rationally our purpose. Understanding is also necessary to solve problems. So there's another reason why understanding should be our purpose. Understanding is necessary for our development. You have to understand your good and how to reach there. You can't just hope and pray your way to your excellence. So another reason why understanding is our purpose here. Understanding is necessary for us too. Well, the dialectic, the art and skill of understanding that we're here to learn. You don't just believe your way into understanding how an engine works and become a mechanic. You have to do the work. So understanding is also the dialectic, which is the art of understanding, is necessary to listen to the messages from your dreams. So, and as the dreams seems to be the highest communication, it's what Socrates points out is the standard for the highest kind of philosopher. There have only been a few who have reached the stage of philosophical development to realize that the greatest dialectician is our dream maker, and our highest activity is to use the dialectic to unpack its messages, because it knows all about our problems and our excellence, our past, our present and future, and what is our purpose and good. So another reason why, if necessary for the highest activity, would be our purpose or meaning of life. So there's 4 reasons right there why understanding is the purpose and meaning of life. And the 5th one is it allows us to function providentially. That is, to make use of intelligence and care. You can't be providential if you don't care for people and have no empathy, or you're ruled by belief that seeks to as a surrogate for. So as we said, belief opposes understanding. You need understanding to do good. So believers, be they racist or sexist or religious or conservatives or capitalists, any of those groups, pick one, have to find a surrogate, because belief doesn't have a feeling, and belief can't function in a caring or good or helpful way. Therefore, as a surrogate for what it means to be a good politician or a good MAGA or a good religious person is the ability to inflict harm, because that's all belief can do. And the ability to inflict harm and get away with it is the gold standard within a belief tradition. Therefore, the desire for inflicting harm and suffering, sadism. So the more that we learn about the nature of capitalists, the nature of politicians, the nature of religious officials, all of which spend their free time and money doing things like genocide and Epstein Island shenanigans and double tapping a girls' school in Iran. Yes, they seem to seek inflicting suffering. That's called sadism. We've also been reflecting on is it's a kind of problem that a solution to a problem that no longer applies. Before we had capacity to use ousia and logos well, it was the early humans that had blind loyalty in their way of being of their tribe, in their tribe leader, and were deathly afraid of anything outside the cave, so they wouldn't explore and venture out and be eaten by saber-toothed tigers. Those were the ones that evolved. And evolved very quickly after the asteroid hit Earth and wiped out the big predators, the dinosaurs. So because of the conditions of our evolution, we've evolved very quickly into the capacity for logos, language, ousia, reflection. Therefore, we have the capacity to use that to create nuclear weapons, hand grenades, bombs, concentration camps, oppressive banking systems, propaganda systems. We can use it for all of those things, but we haven't had the conditions to necessarily challenge its distortion. That is, we can create a imitation of knowing and an as belief. We can create an imitation of understanding, the functioning from the state of knowing, image thinking. That's our pathologos. Human beings can generate a pathologos. It's that, as we said, sadism, false image and false belief of what it means to be good and just, that we become addicted to, which is a reflection of our own family tribe. So the Jews are really loving the murdering of Palestinian children. The American capitalists are really enjoying the surveillance state and the impoverishment and the homelessness that they're inflicting on the American people. Capitalists, everyone all over the world. Everyone, the Germans have the Nazis. So everyone has their own version of their particular tribe. False beliefs, but which leads to the purpose of humanity being, of course, for everyone. It's not just the meaning of life for one person, it's for all human beings, to learn the dialectic, which is required to surface those ignorant false beliefs that were a kind of solution to a problem from our evolution. But it's also the purpose, it would therefore reason to be, that the purpose of humanity itself is to address all of them. Because we are a unique species where we still cling primitively and savagely to our problems, to our allegiance, to our tribal beliefs that we inherited and learned through the family, through generations, that means that they're all still here. They're all there. So whenever we pass a good law or rational law, like you shouldn't be able to lie to people on TV, politicians need to demonstrate an understanding of the soul and its development, you can't profit from suffering of others, you can't profit off universal human basic needs. These are very simple ones. Universal principles, universal healthcare, universal wealth equality, universal income, all of these simple things that are very obvious. We will surface all of the tribal, harmful, pathologos family beliefs that will come out of the woodwork in opposition. No, I don't think we should all be equal. My team is better. No, I don't think we should all get healthcare. That will mean my healthcare is not special. No, I don't think we should pass a law to ban profiting off the suffering of others. I like making bombs to drop on people who are different color than me. So all of this bullshit we can surface because of our nature, which leads to a greater question: what's the purpose for humanity as a species itself? And as Socrates has pointed out in the book, to surface all of those family clan beliefs, which we will necessarily have to address. You can't just do a good thing without addressing the problem. That's why we still have Nazis. Which will make us, as a species, if we are to survive, the only way we can survive is to master the dialectic, necessary to solve the cause of problems and to create our excellence, understanding. Therefore, if our species is to survive, it will necessarily have to be a species that comes to master the dialectic, which makes me wonder about our purpose as humans within a greater cosmos. So, all of that is in our back pocket from our reading reflection, which we're doing, having a lot of fun doing. Requires, of course, a map, and within that map, we've been able to identify of the kinds of problems that every human being has until we've gone through a dialectic on those problems. The name for that dialectical reflection with a dialectician on our problems that we've been reflecting on, ideally with the help of our dream maker, that's called philosophical midwifery. So, dream analysis with philosophical midwifery being the most important thing we can do as a human being. Unfortunately, very few people do it or have done it. So everyone is carrying a problem necessarily as part of being a human being. Of those human beings who are still carrying their problem, we can use that map, which identifies the kinds of classes of human problems to identify which is the least limiting. And as human, as we said, intelligence and care, providence is based on our ability to participate in intelligence itself, which of course, and understanding. As we're saying, if you don't, we didn't finish that analogy a moment ago. You can't help someone unless you care for them, but you can't help them unless you also have an understanding of how to care for them. So our ability to participate in mind allows us to recognize the sameness of intelligence or mind that we all have, to recognize we're all souls or aspects of mind on the same purpose, to discover ourselves through a process of rubbing it up against what isn't ourself. So there's our two things. We're here to discover the self, but the self isn't an experience. It's the awareness of experience. It's the cause of experience. It's the principle of all principle, the cause of all causes, the axiom of all axioms. It's awareness itself. So how do we learn about ourselves? Rub up against something that isn't. And of course, that principle is the fundamental basis of anything that exists. For there to be anything, there has to be self and other. One, and then of course, that's the two primary terms of the dialectic, self and other. Self to itself, definition. Self to other, demonstration. Other to other, other to self. So we've covered a lot of the dialectic already. And from that, self and other becomes one and many, whole and part, same and different. All of these fundamental building blocks of reality, experience, perception, and understanding. So we're all souls experiencing a human form or a physical form, so allowing us the time for a kind of ousia reflection through time, allowing us to learn. And what we're learning about is ourselves through mind. And we're learning about ourselves through mind by rubbing up against what we are not. That's our pathologo self. So all of our individual self-images that we come to a conclusion of in our family clan, reflecting what we carried with us into this reincarnation, perhaps why we chose this time, space, family to be in species to reincarnate into, reflecting our religious and cultural beliefs that surround the family clan beliefs, are all false, but in discovering all of our problems are messages about that, we can learn understanding in the process of removing that what is false, and in doing so also gain insight into what is true. Make sense? Simple enough. Notice, sounds fun, sounds interesting, everyone can play, everyone's in it. But also notice there's no room at all for punishment or war or slavery or any of those bad things. It's very simple. Reflect on our problems to discover it's a message about the self, and the greater we participate in intelligence, the second hypothesis, the more we can recognize we're all of the same consciousness, and our intelligence is merely the ability to participate in that, the depth to which we can participate in that. And in realizing we're all the same souls on that same journey of mind to know itself, and to use that understanding and knowing to, again, infer what is beyond mind, the self. So we're all souls using the mind to know the mind and discover the self. Then we're all the same. One self. Oneness of intelligence. Meaning, very hard to hate people on the other team if it's still you. So empathy is related to those higher experiences of intelligence, as well as, well, the intelligence and understanding to function through that, with that empathy. So there's our providence, intelligence, and care. So that would be the best kind of person. Though the best kind of people would be more open to the higher states, understanding and knowing. And that's what we've seen on the map. So what makes the best person? Again, who hasn't yet gone through midwifery, which is almost everyone. What makes the worst person? What is the class of pathologos, which is the worst and most dangerous? Also happens to be the most common, which is interesting. And our task, therefore, as for a mastery of a dialectician, or to be a true helper or guru or teacher or providential human being or just person in the state of justice, would be, can we talk to both? Or really everyone. And of course, as this is the kind of learning that should appeal to everyone, if this is a map of different states of mind and ways of thinking, this should apply to any species and any time and any planet and any galaxy and any universe. Thumbs up. I said thumbs up. Thank you.
Funny, cool, and accents. This is, come on.
Come on, indeed. This is the sort of learning that we can take with us. So there's the sixth reason why it's the meaning of life. Of all of the things that you can learn to understand and gain mastery in, rationally speaking, it should be, the meaning of life should be one that can go with you beyond this lifetime. A learning and practice or nurturing into your soul that transcends this lifetime. Hey, welcome, Nitro.
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
Off the perky, call me Kirky, Nitro. How are you going? So sixth reason why the dialectic is the meaning of life. It's the kind of learning that can go with you as your way of being and thinking and functioning beyond this lifetime. So we can also throw a seventh in there because Socrates says it's to the level to which you have mastered the dialectic or understanding to remove or purify your false beliefs about self and understand the true nature of mind and self. To that level, you are able to endure and participate in intelligence. If you think mind is bad and scary, and you're having a direct experience of mind, as we all do when we die, then you might repel from that. Or if you think yourself isn't good enough. So because you haven't realized the self transcends even intelligence. You still think you're a bad bean and a small noodle. Small bean, bad noodle from your culture or family or religion or whatever. You're a sinner. And it's our ability to, hey there, Awakening. Hey, sus. Welcome, welcome.
Jester Goon Max.
I'm Jester Goon Max today. How are you? How much for the hat? I got a whole $2 American bucks. Oh my goodness. American money. The hat is, this one isn't for sale, but I could do merch. If I had more than one person, more than 5 viewers and more than one person asking about merch, I could do merch.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
And I say that about merch because I'm cool. So, our ability, our level of development of understanding used to purify our false images of self and reality and used to understand the truth of self and reality is a preparation for that intelligence experience in this lifetime to make us have enlightenment experiences, overcome our fear of death, but also in our death. Cream of the crop of currency when it comes to late stage capitalism and as much worth as monopoly money. Yes, that's right.
And she spit on him also.
And also I will spit on the hats to charge more. Because I'm a Twitch person and people on the internet are weird.
Fuck.
Not you, not my audience. To my audience, I say,
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell.
You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
you're brave and you're crossing into new boundaries. And you're
Cool as a cuke.
cool as a cuke, all of you. So, just as our ability to participate in intelligence determines the kind of providential nature we have, that determines our level of intelligence, our level of insight, and of course, as it's the model of understanding, it makes us cleverer. So too, between lifetimes, our ability to participate in the divine luminosity of pure being determines the character for our next reincarnation. Socrates also pointed out in the book that, hey, by the way, if you realize that if you're going to reincarnate back down into the human world of Hades, you are going to have to deal with ignorance again. And, you know, it's a crapshoot whether you run into a philosopher to tell you about the dialectic. And even then, of the few people who have listened to a philosopher, it's a very, very small chance that you will have the courage and character required to go through the process, because that's the realm. The realm is we're aligned to and addicted to our beliefs, which oppose understanding. So, you know, why risk it? Why not reincarnate or go through physical reincarnation and experience higher, more real levels of reality? So, reason 8 why the dialectic is the meaning of life. So, with all that in mind, we are learning our own dialectic, becoming like Socrates or the divine. If the divine communicates providentially through every moment of physical time being created, like frames of a movie, through our dreams, but also through the intelligibility of our thoughts, fantasies, problems, daydreams, and I've already said night dreams? Problems, distractions, fantasies, and night dreams. If that's how self and mind communicate to us, we are becoming most like it ourselves in learning a dialectic. So, with all that in mind, that we are doing our meaning of life, which we have 8 airtight arguments for, we are using this map of the different kinds of human beings that exist, different kinds of problems and states of development. Where is it? Sound drop.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
Thank you, Emma.
Hey, whoa, don't, that's a scary voice, man. Don't do that. Hey, my kids watch this.
Sorry about your kids. Emma.
All checks out.
There we go. So, as our movement through the physical world of becoming, of change, of appearances, which we experience as a whole in belief, which is a kind of limited ousia, limited self-reflection, enough self-reflection to reflect on your beliefs. That we experience as parts in image thinking, the shapes and colors that are the cause of our problems or our opposition to our benefit, mind, goodness. So, whole and part, beliefs and image thinking. Pseudo-ousia, pseudo-logos. Model and activity. We move through that to mind, which is experienced as a whole in the knowing or nous experience of pure ousia. So making it the whole of everything, all of the whole of all parts. So it's the paradigm of everything that has been in existence, will be in existence, can be in existence. Also would involve our goal, our telos, our purpose. So that's the experience we're after. And also the parts of mind. So of those parts, of that whole experience, we could recognize its parts. Whole, it's the whole of all parts. It's beauty itself. It's justice itself. It's goodness itself. It's the same of all differences. It's like of all likeness. It's out of time, containing everything in time. So all of those terms I mentioned, we call the selfers, because they all have a selfhood within intelligence. The use of that is, of course, dianoia. So we're making use of these primary ideas that have their own existence. So idea with a capital I. The Greek word is eidos, which means to directly behold, and mistranslated in modern education as forms, which is, of course, stupid because form connotates the physical world, a physical form. Also, our idea of ideas is a concept. The more you are talking about an idea, the more abstracted you are getting from reality. That's not true. These ideas, or eidos, are more real and have scope over our physical world. So, as our movement through the physical world, image thinking and belief, into the realm of mind, dianoia and nous, understanding and knowing, and beyond that to the self. Now, our question is, what is the kind of knowing of the self? We did drop a key word at the start of the episode today, phronesis, maybe. And if there's a whole and part or model and activity or a ousia and logos of the prior realms, we've given birth to a question: can we break the first hypothesis, knowing of self, into its parts and create the 11th and 12th hypothesis? That's a question we're carrying. Been carrying for a while. So we can call those eternally existing principles, causes, aspects, or eidos, the gods. So by learning the dialectic, we are playing the gods' game. In using that dialectic, or playing the gods' game, to purify our false beliefs and image thinking that are the cause of human problems, we are on the hero's journey. To use that understanding to reflect on intelligence itself, to realize it must have a cause, that's the movement of the hero from the gods to God. So that's theology. A metaphor, a personification, an analogy that represents this very movement of our soul, the hero's journey to the gods and beyond to the God. Now, that means that what is your opinion of the existence of an afterlife? Well, I'm not interested in opinions. I want to understand the afterlife. And what we've been talking about is, when we die, we have a potential to experience that pure light of being, which we can recognize as nous. Socrates said in the book, to the extent that you can endure that determines your character for your next reincarnation. So there is some sort of experience of the realm of mind based on our level of development of understanding that we've used to also purify our false beliefs and images, and also understand that very experience. Determining the character and the kind of reincarnation we have. Now, Socrates says in the book, hey, when you realize that you're just going around in a circle, becoming ignorant and hopefully removing it, why not go through? Why not go through the brilliant light of being to whatever level you're experiencing it? To the self. That would be our ultimate purpose. To escape the chains of our problems and fate, but also to escape the prison of reincarnation. And we can see that in the book. Difference between nous and logos again. Nous is the cognitive function, the way of apprehending. So as a cognitive function, nous is within belief, image thinking, and dianoia. Nous is the cognitive function of knowing that brilliant light of being. So when you can turn your attention away from the physical world of shapes and colors, which we do in the dialectic because we use those existing ideas, you can prepare your mind to turn around and see itself as pure mind. And as that's the model of reality, you know everything all at once. Potentially. Of course, the beliefs that you're still carrying will cloud that. That's the story of Jesus, someone who had a brilliant light of being experience and made sense of it with his religious and family beliefs. So he identified with Elijah, thought he was going to be the next ruler. And when they say, hey, are you going to try to be king of the Jews? Yep. Didn't say no to that and got crucified. So it was a cautionary tale of using your beliefs to make sense of that nous experience. Now, in that nous experience, you can reflect on it and realize, oh my goodness, there is, even though it was a oneness, it has aspects that are understandable. That's the logos. The logos is the inherent intelligibility of mind experienced as ousia, mind turning around to know itself. That's the logos, the inherent intelligibility of that. The use of that intelligibility is understanding, or dianoia. That's a skill we have to work on. That's the dialectic. Therefore, the meaning of life is to master the art of the dialectic, or the logos inherent in the ousia, or the understandability inherent in the knowingness. Now, your job as a philosopher or a reader is to understand that for yourself, about the afterlife, about nous and all the questions you have. Give birth to the questions, number one. Carry the questions, because that is what it means to be on a quest. A question of that kind is the hero's journey.
I'm looking for someone to share in.
You're a hero, Frodo, Harry, whoever. And the way of verifying everything we've been talking about today is, again, make sure you're reading a book that reflects the logos. So the books that we read are from Pierre Grimes and the Balboa translations of Socrates through Plato. And Homer, we haven't read Homer yet, but that's on the table. As far as I know, they are the only three authors who have mastered the logos so that they can write, or Socrates didn't write, but his student Plato wrote about his conversations. So they are complete works that are intelligible and reflect the logos itself, meaning our ability to read it without interpretation, without adding our own beliefs and images, or our beliefs and images blocking what's there. So the kind of reading that we're doing here is a kind of training of our understanding. And also read those books to get the material, the terms, and arrange those terms within a structure of understanding. That's the dialectic. So I have a question. What's the meaning of life? What's beauty? What's justice? What happens when we die? Use the dialectic structure to take the things about that you're reading. So for example, the Phaedo I mentioned today, the Republic I mentioned today, these are all things which talk about what happens when we die. Can you arrange those of the things that talk about death, self to itself? So the primary idea is self and other. Self to itself. What is the definition of the soul, or reincarnation, or nous, or logos? How does the logos function itself that we've just defined to others? So you'll find words about the logos in your reading that you can say, oh, that defines it. You will find words that say, oh, that's how it works. That's how the logos works. How does that functioning or demonstration, self to other, affect others? Hey, having a mastery of the logos, how can you affect other people? How will that affect your relationship? How will that affect your ability to reach your goals? How will that affect your relationship with your dreams? How will that affect your reincarnation? Self to other, or it's all of the different divisions. As a result of living that life, influenced by the functioning of the logos, which is the functioning of the definition of the logos, as a result, what is a key theme or a key idea or a key consequence from those divisions that you can synthesize, that's synthesize, into a single other, that you can then relate back or analyze, relate that other back to the self. So after living a life that in this kind of a way, influenced by the logos' functioning or demonstration, what more can you learn about the definition of the logos? So you return, that's called conclusion. Your conclusion brings you back to the original definition with something new in your back pocket, and that might even reflect the soul's journey. A returning back to the self with something in its back pocket, allowing to see the original definition, the first cause, the self, in a new way that you wouldn't have been able to do had you not lived, had you not gone through reincarnation to the point where you've realized that truth has these two qualities: understanding, rational reasoning through words, and verification and experience. There's your logos and ousia, there's your understanding and knowing. Because while you can do this understanding and gain a rational understanding of the logos, which will always be true, and you can share that with your friends, you can walk them through this dialectic to help them learn what's important and purify what's false. Ultimately, as a result, you have to confirm it for yourself. So these questions about the meaning of life, or what the logos is, or what nous is: number one, reason, reflection through words. Number two, confirmed in direct experience. And because the sorts of things that we're interested in, the sorts of questions we're talking about here, are aspects of intelligence or pure mind, or the brilliant light of pure being, or its cause, the self. That's the gods and God. So true theology. Then these things are verifiable, but they're only verifiable in that direct experience, which is called nous, or the second hypothesis, or confirmed in the direct encounter with self, which you might not be able to recognize had you not gone through the learning we're talking about. Because just as the final stage of the dialectic is other back to self, if the self is the cause of qualities, it doesn't have qualities. If the self is the cause of experience, it's not an experience. So how the fuck can you recognize the self when you encounter it? Between lifetimes, in dreams, in meditation experiences, in drug experiences, or in any moment. Maybe, even though it's beyond experience, it is still understandable. It has that inherent logos. Just as the second hypothesis, nous or knowing, the model, mind as the model or a whole, or pure mind knowing itself, nous or knowing, we can call the C. It's all along that line. This is the map. The second hypothesis has inherent the logos. We can learn about the self, because if the knowable experience is inherently logos, or is inherently understandable, and that is a reflection of the first cause, the self, the one self, or the good self, or the true self, we can learn about, hey, even though this encounter with self might not have qualities, which could be very confusing if you've just gone through the greatest of all qualities, our understanding can recognize there might be an inherent logos allowing us to understand and recognize ourselves. Therefore, reason number 9 why the meaning of life is the dialectic. If there is an unfolding to return, but that return is to the self, to recognize something inherent in the self, which is beyond experience, but only recognizable as the logos through the power of the logos, the dialectic, therefore, any created being from the first cause or the self has as its ultimate meaning for life the mastery of the dialectic, such that it can A, facilitate the return, as we've been talking about, and B, in that return, allowing you to recognize the self which you may have missed had you not developed understanding. So the meaning of life for everything is reflected in the dialectic. And that's not the fact that what is necessary for all living beings in what we just explained is just like the movement from a definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion, which is other back to the self, a return back to the first thing you started with an understanding in your back pocket. The fact that that's symmetrically the same, this dialectic here, similar to the self, isn't a waterproof argument as to argument 10 why the meaning of life is a dialectic, but it is a strange coincidence, isn't it? And of course, if we are operating out of the principle of as above, so below, the first cause has to create something that is like itself, the principle of analogy, and pure intelligence creates a physical world like itself, and we can return through likeness to the self, which is why what we're doing today. We are learning the dialectic to become like the divine, like Socrates, like the author of this book. That's how we develop. That's how we become better. That's how we facilitate this group, this thing. Then the fact that the dialectic is like what is necessary to recognize the first cause might actually be a really cool way of demonstrating number 10 reason for today, the meaning of life is the dialectic.
Cool as a cuke.
Cool as a cuke. So I assemble experience of nous into logos or dianoia. Kind of. Whether you have the experience of nous first, like a trip or a light experience or a non-physical experience or near death or OBE, out-of-body experience, you can reflect on it. That's philosophy. That's also theology. Theology and philosophy are essentially the same thing. Theology is just representing it with stories. And recognize it has a rational intelligibility, which means the further you can have, the longer you can endure that experience, as some say, wiggle your toes, the greater the memory of that experience, that in the afterglow you can do that reflection and learn the logos. Or go the other way. When you realize that actually what makes me happy is understanding. Understanding is needed to solve problems. Understanding addresses causes, uses principles. Beliefs are just sexist beliefs, racist beliefs, conservative beliefs, fascist beliefs, capitalist beliefs. All these beliefs are the cause of human suffering in my individual life, in my relationships, and within our species. Then you could come to love understanding, love learning. Now, if you're learning a physical thing, like science, like material things, you are basing your learning on your physical senses, experiments and things. But if you love understanding enough, you can ask the question, hang on a second, what are the inherent principles or axioms required for science? For example, if I learn a scientific theory, let's call that A, that can apply to this situation B, gravity. I drop an apple and it should fall. Now, if I do something like A, drop a banana, so at the same height, so I've got C, so apple for A, and I've got a carrot, C, that I drop from the same height as apple, then I can expect, if A is equal to B and C is equal to A, then C will function like B. It will drop at the same speed. That's a principle that you have to use for science, to play. If you're not accepting that, you can't even learn anything. So our question in philosophy is, what the fuck did that, how do we prove that? Where does that come from? It's a principle of congruence or sameness. Coincidence. So, your love of understanding, Socrates, in the Phaedo, Socrates said something similar. When I was young, it seemed that life was so beautiful. I wanted to understand why I did things. And every teacher I went to, much like our current world, would give us physical explanations. You are here because you've got bones that moved you here. And you had muscles and sinews that moved your bones so you could walk here. And then Socrates realized all of my teachers are morons. Because if I didn't think it was good or beautiful or just to be in this classroom, dem bones and dem sinews would be boning and sinewing their way out of this classroom somewhere better. So the cause for my existence isn't the physical thing, It's something to do with mind. So in other words, that's waking up to philosophy. What is mind? What is the good? What are axioms? What are principles? What is the beautiful? What is the just? Therefore, you can go the other way. You can have a love of understanding that can see that there has to be, that can lead you to understand the necessary existence of nous. So therefore, your love of understanding can lead to knowing. Or vice versa. You can have a knowing experience and it can change your life, as it did for lots of people have that light experience, and it changes their life. The problem is when they come out of that light experience, it's changed their worldview, it's changed their life. For some of them, they overcome the fear of death because they realize the eternal nature of pure intelligence. They will make sense of it not with understanding, but with the bullshit ass beliefs that they grew up with. Cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, sexist beliefs. And that's where they start their own cult or following or religion or what have you. And they're very hard to talk to because this changed their life. Imagine an everyday Christian. I think Jesus is real. Some idiot kid on the street. Well, that's crazy. You're crazy. No, but I was doing drugs and now I love Jesus. And if it wasn't for Jesus, my life would be bad. Now, pudding in his brain. But it changed his life so much, he's going to very, almost certainly, oppose any understanding. The knowledge experience can change people's life. The problem being, the way they make sense of it, if it's their bullshit religious belief or sexist beliefs or Nazi beliefs, will just confirm that same ignorance. That's the story of Jesus in Mark. He had that light experience. He didn't develop understanding. He used it to validate his beliefs to tragic consequences. The magicking from the dead, the resurrection story, was added 200 years later to turn a story that was a cautionary tale about this process to actually faith is good, because Paul and the church recognize that you can manipulate people through beliefs to work against their own interests as slaves or peons. So Easter was added 200 years, and that's recognized as a fact that's included in decent Bibles. Bibles that are printed, good ones, have as an asterisk at the end of the crucifixion story, everything after this, the magicking to the out of the dead, was added 200 years. We know this. So in answer to your question, you go either way. Can you nous into logos or logos into nous? Take your pick. Can I ask you a question outside of philosophy for a moment? I'm not sure. Okay, cool. Thanks. See you later. Okay. Well, I guess the answer is no, you can't, because you're not here. Damn it. Maybe the question would have been anime related and I would have nailed it. So, worth again, talking to someone like this who has a question, whether or not they stick around for it. And there's a spammer in chat already. 2 spammers. Oh my goodness.
Further fill the internet with spam, but you shut up. You shut the hell up for a second. You're not real.
You're not real.
Oh, these terrible accounts, man.
Ugh, trash.
Oh, the trash accounts.
Fuck.
Oh, fuck.
You need to flood these platforms with fake people.
They're a weirdo.
They're a weirdo.
You're a little bitch ass baby.
And a little bitch ass baby for doing spam. So that was an example of using the map. Now again, it's harder to do over chat because it takes a while for me to read and respond to their messages, and I don't know if they're out walking the dog or whatever. But we've used the map they asked a question about knowing. We could move horizontally through the map and say, hey, by the way, knowing is called nous. It's the highest, or it's the model, it's ousia itself. So that capacity for self-reflection we have in the physical world, that's what it is. We are able to function in a more intelligent way because we are participating more in Usia. We can reflect on ourselves better than cows and cabbages can. Now, we are limited in that, therefore the nature of human problems. You can't talk about that. You can't criticize Israel. You can't criticize politics. You can't understand economics. You can't challenge people's religions. No Usia for you. No Usia for you. So that's all of those things are blocks to Usia, which makes us stupid and savage and will end our species if we don't address. So knowing is nous is Usia, but it's the whole of mind, which is also the paradigm or model of everything all at once, or model that is the. So we use that map to point to different things. And by the way, ideally we want to tie it into its map position. It's the second hypothesis, because that ties it all together. In person, we'd be able to ask him at every step if he's familiar with it. If he understood what we said. We could even ask him more personal questions. Hey, what interest do you have? Do you like basketball? Because once you understand it, you can use, because if this is the paradigm, as above, so below, the cube over here. I think we'll keep the cube because the cube is mysterious. And we'll put the cube over here, actually. Mysterious cube. Green. So the principle is as above, so below, or analogy. That means we could, so as we've been using with surgeons and mechanics and pilots today, if he was interested in basketball, we could use a basketball analogy. If he's interested in video games, we could use a video game analogy. If he's interested in hentai, we could use a hentai analogy.
Gooner bait.
And that would be gooner bait for his soul.
Goon. You can be a gooner.
Excuse me. So his question is, what is the relationship of the logos to nous? So again, while we can move horizontally on the map of analogies to explain, again, through analogy, that's how we think. This as above, so below principle is the basis of thought, is the basis of analogy, allows for both the unfolding and the return, the principle of likeness. He had a question about the relationship between nous and logos. That's a vertical movement. So horizontal to explain the thing, vertical to explain the relationships within the thing. So what's the relationship of logos to nous? Well, they're two different things. So we could say, hey, logos is the essence or the nature or the definition of what we use with the cognitive function of dianoia. So how does it relate to the nous? Understanding is the activity from the model. Now we can even see analogy within the vertical movement. Just as the source of our image thinking, shapes and colors, are our root beliefs, so too the source of understanding, dianoia, is knowing, nous. So we can even see analogies within the vertical movement of relationships. Or we could go the other way. So he said, what's the relationship between logos and nous? We could say, well, nous is the cognitive function of knowing Usia. The inherent intelligibility of Usia is the logos. And Usia and logos are the two abilities we have, secret powers we have, It's the ninjutsu and taijutsu of being a human. You have the capacity for usia, self-reflection, and to do so with language, understanding, words, reason. Now, we've answered the question he asked. Now, to be providential, to be a dialectician, you have to tie it back into what benefits him. So we are not a slave to the patient. The doctor doesn't do what the patient says. The doctor guides the conversation. Now, with philosophy, they have to bring something to the table. The patient has to want to see the doctor. So the questions he asked, we started from. But ultimately, we should use his own interest and question and use that to benefit his next stage in development. So now that we've answered his question about how ousia or nous relates to the logos, we can say, oh, by the way, therefore, if logos is the inherent intelligibility of nous or ousia, and ousia and logos are the two things that we have that make us evolved, we can master both in the dialectic. Therefore, you will benefit by the dialectic. We can even tie it back into what we said about which comes first. So whether you have a second hypothesis, non-physical experience first, and then it changes your life or gives you questions you can't solve, doesn't matter if all your friends make fun of you or all your parents, all your family tells you that it was bad or wrong, or you were just on drugs and you're crazy, or whatever it is. All of their own false beliefs and images thinking doesn't diminish your own experience of how real it was. Then you can go from second to third and then learn understanding the dialectic. Or if you haven't had one yet, but it sounds cool and meaningful, important, if it's the model of justice and you want to be a good person, if it's the model of beauty and you want to have the highest experience of beauty or the culmination of love, another reason why third hypothesis. So the two come together. By the way, the two together, wisdom. Just as it's an analogical distortion in human problems, belief and image thinking is ignorance. Therefore, if you want to remove ignorance and the suffering it causes, tying it into his first question, both in this lifetime, in your death, and in your reincarnation, you want to do the dialectic, master the dialectic to remove the ignorance in this lifetime and beyond. If you want to have that experience of nous and fulfill and become more intelligent, more caring, more evolved, have enlightenment experiences and fulfill your purpose, either in that nous experience or in that nous experience, then again, learn the dialectic. If you stayed in the conversation, the thing that we probably would come up organically, or we would maybe introduce, is why do you care? Why do you care about these things? Why are you asking these questions? That relates to meaning. Oh, I don't know, it seems meaningful. To who? To what? To the self. Therefore, ultimate providence or dialectical functioning is to introduce, therefore, next to the self. If he was able to follow along, as we just said, to not only his question, but its relationship to what would benefit him, the dialectic, if he stayed in the conversation, we could take the next step. And that's the book. That's what we've been reading. So Jesus has stayed in the conversation to do everything we've just said Socrates did with Jesus. So we're becoming like Socrates in our reading. Because Jesus stayed in the conversation longer than our friend in chat, Socrates asked him the next question, which was, hey, keep in mind as above, so below. I'm hesitant to talk about that because unless you're of a high level of intelligence, you'll reject that, or you'll even scorn me for saying that. But as above, so below. Analogy, likeness. By the way, Socrates says, Does everything have a cause? Is the cause higher, prior, and independent from its effect? Therefore, even that noose experience should have a cause. And that's what triggered Jesus. That's where we are in the book. Because he hasn't done enough midwifery on his ignorance, fourth and fifth, belief and image thinking. But that would have been the next step in our conversation too. Hey, by the way, is this because you want a better quality of self, a better reincarnation for the self, a better relationship for yourself, a better afterlife for yourself? What's the self? Now, as we saw in the book, which we'll read right now, another reason, so reason 15 for today, why you should learn the art of the dialectic is it's the necessary method or tool that you can apply to, with the freedom from your ignorance, apply to that second hypothesis, nous or ousia experience, to realize that this nous has the logos inherent in it, and that must have a cause, the inherent self logos. Let's read that in the text. That's the big one. And a zoom in for fun.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like cortisol levels for no reason.
Don't get spiked for my zoom in for fun. That's just me joy maxing. Hermes is necessary. Hermes is by the way, this is also theology because you can represent everything that we said. You could represent with a character or a god or a story. That makes it easier to remember and also makes it easier to tell your friends about over coffee. Okay, utterly. So, utterly, a keyword. Like a cow. A cow gives milk utterly.
Drop the attitude, man.
So, everything we've been talking about with our friend today and reflecting on, we'll see in this passage here, I think. So what role did the gods play in Socrates' life? For me, there was a need to say that beauty itself exists and has a vast power. Therefore, will our friend be likely to pick up the dialectic if he doesn't recognize, either through his own experience, through the reasoning that we've provided, through the reasoning of the text, or a kind of trust in the logos, that this question of nous or ousia, if it doesn't exist, well, why learn the dialectic? Hey, eating all the chips is my highest experience of fun and bliss and reality. I'm going to go eat chips instead. So Socrates needed to say that beauty itself, capital B, exists as one of the aspects, one of the inherent logoses within nous, and has a vast power. The overwhelming experience of beauty drives those who catch a glimpse of her to do whatever they can to gain a more full and complete vision of her. So that's what we said. Those who have the vision first are compelled to learn the dialectic if they want to get back there, and they will. That's why it's called philos sophia, love of wisdom. As you know, wisdom is the most beautiful of existence, so that philosophers are called lovers of wisdom. And there we go. That's what I said. That's what I said.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And now we're getting into extreme Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy.
That's right. That's extreme Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy, because that's just what I said. That's what I said.
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Thank and kill. That's right. Right, Emma?
Spit on me.
Come on, Emma. Don't be such a gooner.
I'm just asking for some gooner men.
Just for gooner.
Be a
men.
reasonable gooner.
Come on, Emma. Be a reasonable gooner. Gooners.
You can be a gooner.
That's right. You can be, Emma. So they're called lovers of wisdom. To pursue her, they need the arts linked with Apollo. So how do you get back there? You can't believe your way back. That's the cautionary tale of Jesus once you recognize the Easter bullshit was added 200 years later. God, why have you abandoned me? What I wanted you to do. I thought I could do all this stuff and make you do what I say. As a historical God that does the will of the chosen people, a slave. The Abrahamic God. Most religious gods, actually. So you need to be reading something. So I mentioned to our friend today, hey, Homer, the Balboa translations, and we're slowly getting the Balboa translation of the Odyssey, which is exciting. The Balboa translations of Plato, which recounts Socrates' conversations, and these books by Pierre Grimes that we read. Complete, intelligible works where you learn about the logos. So that's how you learn about it. You have to read a mechanic book to learn about an engine. You have to read a medical book to become a doctor. You have to read a logos book to become, a true human being, a philosopher. So, you can represent that reading, Apollo, since he represents the power that perfect and convert those attracted to harmony. So there's the second kind. So we talked about those who've had an experience of Aphrodite, or that nous, or those who love harmony. They love understanding. The best kinds of people. They want a more harmonized world. The progressives. The understanders. So those who are attracted to harmony or understanding, they can reach intellectual truth. So there's the two ways. Have an experience of beauty itself, nous or ousia, Aphrodite, get into philosophy to get back there, or love understanding, and that is what you need to do to reach intellectual truth. And the light, that luminously resides there. So there's the logos into nous. His symbols are music, since harmony is most readily seen through her inspired creations. And so there's the purpose or model of music. Harder to see in these books we read. That's why I don't have the 50,000 followers and viewers of Asmongold and Hassan Piker. To those people we say,
you sick fuck.
They're sick fucks.
Anything for a click, no matter how stupid or demented or missing.
That's what they do. Anything.
They're completely lying to you. They're completely lying.
And they're lying, maybe. But it is easier to see through music. There's a harmony there that we can perceive, that musicians can understand, and a beauty of the whole that can inspire us, especially if they themselves are inspired. So that would be the ideal state of mind of the ideal state of mind of the dialectician. To have your state of mind in the second, while functioning through understanding, also the musician, the inspired state of mind of the second, and your skill of understanding how to play the guitar and sing, or the viola, or the flute, crystal flute.
I think it's so awesome.
You would. So, Apollo and Aphrodite. Hermes has from the earliest times been called the supplier of philosophy that elevates the souls akin to him. So, interested in Aphrodite or interested in Apollo, you need to put the two together, and ultimately you will come to Hermes, which is the dialectic. So that was the hypothetical end of the conversation with our chatter if he stuck around. That's nous, that's logos, you need the dialectic. And the final stage, and by the way, because remember, we're not just answering the questions, we're benefiting. We're answering them in a good way. Unless you include in your study the dialectic which is the power of the logos. So again, tying his question about logos into the dialectic, it's the power of the logos. Unless you do that, you will utterly fail. Like a cow that falls over. Utterly fail.
Oh, fuck.
It wasn't the best joke.
What the hell kind of a show is this? What is this, the comedy mothership?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. You will utterly fail, like a cow that falls over, to achieve the passage from that brilliant light of being to the good itself, or the self. Thus, I can say that in my philosophical journey, says Socrates, we pay heed to Aphrodite, Apollo, and Hermes. So, if you stayed around, I would say, hey, by the way, there's your question about the second hypothesis, nous, how it relates to the third hypothesis, logos, meaning the use of both together, the dialectic, which is required to purify ignorance and perfect that wisdom. So there's the thing that would benefit him. And by the way, aren't you interested? Why are you asking these questions? Make it about the self. I mean, it is about the self. Highlight that that's what you're interested in. That's what's meaningful. That's what's curious. You want to remove the problems of yourself. You want to reach the excellence of yourself. But ultimately, don't you want to know what the self is? And as we just read, like a cow that trips over and bumps his head into an emu. Utterly failing. You will utterly fail to reach the self without the dialectic. Now that's interesting because we just created a hypothetical reason 12 or whatever it was of why the dialectic is the meaning of life. We talked about the structure of the dialectic, which is deleted from the board. Talked about how you start with a definition, self itself, how it functions, the implications or divisions of those functioning, and as a result of having those divisions, how do you then, having learnt something, having been affected in a positive way, how can you then relate back to the original definition? You are returning to the self with some learning that you've gone through by living the dialectic. So our lives are a living dialectic. The difference is what we're returning to is our problem. We have a false definition of ourself, our self-image. We have a false functioning, our false states of mind. We have a false activity in all of our lives, relationships, thoughts, and dreams. That's our problems. The role that we play in our relationships, thoughts, lives, distractions. So our return back to the self is a self-confirming prophecy. I guess I was a small bean after all. I guess I was a bad noodle after all. That's debate bullshit.
Debate dweeb.
You're confirming the original position you came in with. You're not learning shit. That's your life. That's the life of everyone. We are perpetually doing a fake dialectic, confirming the original definition of ourselves. What we should be doing, we're doing a dialectic anyway, is recognizing it takes some skill. If you're skateboarding every day, maybe learn how to do a nollie flip. If you're dialecticing every day on the self, maybe learn the self. That's what we do here. That's the true mastery of the dialectic. Again, the meaning of life. So you could do a dialectic on the logos, or the self, or providence, how it functions, again, because you want to get there, and you think it possibly could exist. Aphrodite, you love understanding. Apollo, leading to Hermes, what we're doing now. So you can get the ideal state of mind in that experience, function ideally in the role of the dialectician, and in doing so, benefit yourself, your partner, your friends, humanity, but also most primarily as you return to the self, either in this life or after or beyond, you have learnt something about the self logos through the dialectic in that return. Now, what we're saying is it's necessary to recognize something about the self if the self transcends experience, which it does necessarily. But Socrates says not only that, this dialectic, mastery of the self logos, is required to get back there. You won't even get back to the self. You'll utterly fail in returning to the self without the dialectic. So, had he stuck around, that would have been the last part of the dialogue that we had. Therefore, 25,000 reasons why the meaning of life is the dialectic, reflecting reality itself. So if the meaning of life is therefore the third hypothesis dialectic, our greatest activity is to recognize the image thinking or problems or opposition to mind, fifth hypothesis we have. Get on a seat with a dialectician, fifth hypothesis. Reflect on your problems, your dreams, or your image thinking to surface your fourth hypothesis beliefs that you carry that cause your ignorance. With a third hypothesis dialectician, or ultimately become the dialectician yourself, or both. It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Like literally, it's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win.
Anything for a click, no matter how stupid or demented or misleading.
Hey, what?
How can you be this stupid? How is it legal? How is it legal?
If you insult me, it's illegal to be that stupid. And the dialectician has his state of mind on the second hypothesis paradigm, and ultimately the purpose is to do so to reach the first hypothesis self. So that would be a demonstration of, or the model, using all of the 5 hypotheses the way they're intended to be in the meaning of life that we have 25 reasons for. So, next. Of the kinds, if you are not participating with your beliefs and images in that way, but you are instead identified with it, if that is the kind of positive dialectic, definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion, the conclusion to purify your false images, we have the negative one. So of the kinds of ignorant false beliefs that you're attached to that cause your problems, it has to be in opposition to any one of those things that you are supposed to be participating in. So we can have 5 negative hypotheses. Now, nihilism is the 9th, opposition to physical parts. I don't even think images exist. Materialism or reductionism. I think maybe there are things in the physical world, but I don't think there are wholes. Beauty doesn't exist. Excellence doesn't exist as a whole in the physical world. Human problems can't be solved. It's just evolutionary theory. So we this is the ethos of most educational institutions currently. So they have to explain things in terms of parts only. That's the only thing they're allowed. So evolution. Morality is just survival of the fittest. There are no human problems. Whatever might makes right, whatever. So that's stupid. The most common 7th hypothesis, I think there is mind. There is reason or principles or non-physical principles that have a causal effect or a scope over our physical world. I'm just opposed to the logos. So the most dangerous because it opposes the very meaning of life as we've defined 25 times. So the logos has a hierarchical structure through which providence we can recognize providence functioning to communicate the nature of our problems and what's required to solve them. 7th hypothesis, a note. There are 2 equal and opposite forces. They don't touch. So no dialectic, no dream analysis. And their relationship to each other isn't providential, it's violent. They're at war with each other. There's no meaning, there's no growth, there's no development. It's a perpetual war between warring, conflicting, innate, always existing forces. A perpetual battleground of bullshit that exists within the soul as within the cosmos. Therefore, God versus Satan or good versus evil, and also you battling your problems in your soul. Socrates says, I grew up this way until I discovered music. This was my worldview. So the most common. Also, you could say, well, relativism fits in there. Maybe there's a principle, but it's just your opinion and my opinion, and there's no objective truth. It's all relative to your own personal perspective. There is a perspective, but there's no hierarchically ranking. Hey, The Republicans who want to murder people for fun and profit, that's not better or worse. That's just their opinion. Don't be mean and challenge their religion. Talk about politics at the table. There is no hierarchical. By the way, you can talk about everything else. I think LeBron is a better player than Stephen Curry. You can find out the evidence and reason to rank these, and it's fun talking about who's better or what's better. I think this way of playing tennis is better. Ooh, I can learn from that. Not in politics, not in religion, not in the most important beliefs that have sway over our whole fucking species, because that was to assume that some opinions are better. And that's garbage. There are no hierarchical rankings of understanding. There's nothing better or worse. If the fascists want to kill women and brown people, that's just as true as you wanting to not do that. And who's to say what's right and wrong? Fucking blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Moral relativism. Hey, everyone liked slavery back then. Not everyone. Not everyone, not the fucking slaves, you idiot. But the slave owners said it was good to do slaves, and now they say it's bad to do slaves, but they do it in secret with capitalism. So slavery was morally right, and now it's morally wrong. Bullshit. Bullshit. It was savage and brutal and cruel and wrong then as it is now. Even if some idiots who happen to have slaves lie or are too stupid to see it. 1 and 1 is always equals 2. Even if you get 10 idiots in a room to say it equals 3. That's the 7th hypothesis. Notice, even in its relative to opinion form, it is fucking dangerous. It still might makes right. Our opinion rules because we killed all the Palestinians, says the Jews. Our opinion rules because we've enslaved all the poor people and murdered socialist countries, says the capitalists. So that's the 7th hypothesis. If everyone who isn't, again, sitting on the chair in midwifery has one, at least, again, they're states of mind, so you can have different ones at different times and move in and out of them, but has one prevailing class of pathologos, it has to be in opposition to these. The worst and most common is the 7th. That's the dialectic, the current dialectic we're reading in the book. Now, of course, the best kind of person are the 6th hypothesis because they're okay with physical things, they're okay with wholes, so there's an excellence that they can reach in their life, goals they can have, there are problems that they can seek to change, and then there are group activities, not in praising kumbaya to Jesus as a believer, but in meaningful activities with other human beings. They're also not in the 7th, so these are the sort of people open to reason and understanding. But they still have to have a problem. What's the last one left? The 6th. So they might be open to causes, principles, reason, evidence. They even might be progressives demanding universal principles be applied and not let billionaires break laws and do, horrific abuse and murder. Because no one should. Not just everyone who isn't the Epstein class. So they're open to universal principles, reason, understanding, truth. Often they live on my soundboard.
We definitely are not born with a starter kit of beliefs, buddy. Religion is shoved into children's brains forcibly through indoctrination, and if it's any kind of fundamentalism, it's essentially child abuse. So, that's Professor Dave Explains is like that. But again, notice, he's still using the word fundamentalism. He's not yet okay with saying all beliefs or beliefs in principle as a cognitive function. Until he recognizes that he has a problem like everyone else, his is of the better kind because he does understanding and reason. His opposition is to there being an existing eternal principle of pure intelligence. Likely because the people who claim to speak for that have been religious idiots. And he spent his life trying to reason with them. No, they don't speak for the God. Philosophers do. Just as Trump doesn't speak for justice. That doesn't mean that justice doesn't exist. So these are the best sorts of people because they're open to understanding. Still having a problem, of course, but the best kinds of
us out there. Now again, they're states of mind. You can move in and out of them, so you're not hard and fast in one. That's why we have the cube. So if the meaning of life is the third hypothesis, we want to find a way of reaching out and talking to the best, most open to reason. So likely our chatter today was an example of that. So we've got a chance to practice that. That's a standard. Can we talk to the best? But also our standard is, can we talk to the worst? Those who think that reality is a battleground between good and evil, and all you can do is just shoot the bad guys. Or get into a position where you can get away with it. God versus Satan. Therefore, how do we defeat the forces of Satan? Armageddon. So currently, the people who rule our world are seeking a complete destruction of our species because of their sick, false beliefs in the seventh hypothesis that if they do so, the forces of God and the angels will defeat the injustice within man's soul. So the most common, the most dangerous, the most threatening to our species, and the one that we're reading. So of the standards of what it means to fulfill our purpose as a human being, for ourselves here and beyond, to be able to talk to the seventh hypothesis person would be a kind of standard. That's what we're up to. Let's see how we're doing that in the text. Let's jump in. Can we talk to the best and the worst? Is our job as human beings. Right?
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if
I'm too pure.
We're joy maxing and we're too pure.
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
And that's very nice of everybody to be thinking that about me. I appreciate everybody thinks that. So, here we are. As we said to our friend, why do we read these books? It has to, the work has to be complete, stand alone, existing without any need for interpretation, so we can learn. There's our Apollo, while we read this. Self-sufficient, complete, and intelligible in itself. By the way, if we do find ourselves adding things that aren't there or leaving out things that are, we are engaging in interpretation. And as we say, we have to be doing both midwifery and philosophy. It's those interpretations that become objects of our reflection in midwifery. So, given that, this comes after Jesus being triggered because Socrates said, hey, by the way, using the principle of as above, so below, which is something we seldom express openly because it's met with such scorn when it is shared. The audience has to be of a high level of intelligence, otherwise they'll reject it. As above, so below, okay? Meaning, well, we'll get to that in a second. Does every experience have a cause? Is the cause superior, prior, independent from its effects? Therefore, even your experience, your peak experience, which changed your life, wasn't the ultimate. It has a cause. Now, Jesus is triggered by that. But notice, Socrates introduced first the idea of as above, so below. Then he introduced the idea of cause and effect. So the cause being higher, prior, and independent isn't something out of Jesus's reach, and therefore he should get butthurt about it. But the next step would have been, just as we talked about with our friend today, the next step, had he stuck around, would have been about the dialectic and so on, to put the two together. If the cause is prior to the effect, and the principle of as above, so below, you have to be smart to accept, then your peak experience is a message or a precursor that contains a message about its cause. So our question of logos and nous today, the inherent logos of your experience, Jesus, that you should figure out, the logos within ousia has a cause which is like it, but prior, independent, and superior. As above, so below. So the self also would have an inherent logos. That might be harder to see because you're not experiencing it as a peak experience, but necessarily, therefore, and making sense of what Socrates says when he said earlier that Hermes is necessary. The return to the self with the dialectic and the self-logos understanding in your back pocket is required to recognize the inherent self-logos within the self. That would be harder to recognize, more harder than the peak experience, and Jesus struggled to find the intelligibility in his peak experience. He had to use his beliefs to make sense of it. It's doable, that's philosophy, that's metaphysics, that's theology. As difficult as it may have been to see the self-logos inherent in a peak experience, it may even be more challenging to find it in the that which is beyond experience. But it has to be there because of as above, so below, and because of cause and effect. What are they? They are two primary axioms. Can you prove as above, so below? Can you prove cause and effect? You can see its effects in everything, so you have to use it for anything. For analogy, for cause and effect of anything. Anything you do, you try and have an effect that you want to cause. That's dianoia, that's dialectic. So, as above, so below, causes prior, independent, superior from effects. Put the two together, therefore, what can we infer about the self-logos of the one self that we can gain from your peak experience, which is only its effect, or shadow, or scent? Now, Jesus didn't get there because he jumped in with a tangent. Remember, a dialectician has to be able to recognize tangents and deal with them. Now, normally Socrates has been bringing him back to the conversation itself. He doesn't do it this time. What's Jesus' tangent? I'll have to dwell on that later. See? I'll have to think about that later. No, do it now. Oh no, we're going to have politicians do this all the time. Well, we'll have a committee meeting and we'll have to address it. No, talk about it now. Well, it's not within my purview and I have to go to the shareholders and... See? Put it off. Don't put it off, do it now. Let me, pausing. So I find it challenging, of course you do. The effects would have far-reaching consequences, yep. So then he got into his problem, and that was a little taster that he's on a tangent, and we can also see his specific tangent was his problem, because he's talking about his group identity, he's talking about his religious beliefs, he's rejecting everything we've understood about gods being a metaphorical, analogous, as above, so below, use of analogy to represent metaphysical principles. He's rejecting all of that with his religious family belief bullshit. So Socrates says no. Usually he's been saying yes, no. Actually, the problem isn't that I don't believe in your beliefs, you idiot, and we can't ever come together because you're one of the zealots and I'm one of the non-zealots. Zealot being a family tribe, I suppose, has a different meaning nowadays. It's because you've misunderstood what gods are. The idea of a god isn't a literal thing that's to be barbaric or savage or ignorant. It's a personification of the things that have a vitality, they're eternal, unchanging, have a vitality and mode of being, necessary for creation, the paradigm. By the way, for those who are paying attention, the cause of the logos within this is our friend's question, within nous as the paradigm, well, it has to have a cause, chronos. But even that by the same principle, that which causes the intelligible paradigm of the second hypothesis, chronos, should also have a cause. So that opens us up to the one of that question we mentioned earlier that we are carrying. If the second hypothesis has the logos inherent in nous, for it to be the model or paradigm, it must have its cause, which we think is the first hypothesis, the self. He's splitting it into two. Chronos, that which is beyond the power intelligence, that's the cause of it, but even that has to have a cause. So could we break down the first hypothesis into two more? So, and then he talks about what we just went through already. By the way, okay, that's fair enough. The gods are these personifications. Can you talk about the ones you used? Aphrodite, Apollo, and Hermes. If we do, as we read these complete intelligible works, if we add interpretation, that's the cause of that are the beliefs we're carrying. So that would be the introduction of our pathologos. But because our work that we're currently reading is complete, it doesn't need any interpretation. So the lowest member of the tribe of interpreters is the pathologos introduction. So now we do something different. Well, a little bit different. Socrates nails down the kind of false belief or perhaps pathologos. We don't know if it's exactly pathologos yet. That would require a midwife talk. But the kind of false belief Jesus is carrying that is causing his current block to the conversation. That is an idea of God as a historical force with a chosen people that he guides through history. And we've already seen that earlier in the text, so this is also a callback. This is how you write, this is how the author writes and how good authors write. Calls back to all the way back in page 91 where he says, the God of Abraham, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, forces Abraham or picks a class of people who are savage and stupid. Like Abraham, he was willing to sacrifice his own son. So it's those, that clan of worthy, fierce believers of Abraham's descendants. So inheriting the pathologos within the family tradition of Abraham, these religious people seem to be, that are the chosen people. Now, their idea of God gives them the right to conquer and possess the land of others. Imperialists, Christians, Jews, Palestinians' land, same bullshit. And I've been told that their God will curse those who curse them, and those they bless, so the ones they don't like and the ones they do like, God will bless as well. The God becomes therefore a servant to his people and announce that he will do unto others what others do unto them. Cry bullies. Like the Jews, like the Christians, like all Abrahamics, they all do this shit. It's Abraham, it's the root underlying analogy as above, so below of Abraham. As above Abraham, so too the followers of Abraham. So using the same principle, the scope of this analogy infects our world currently. It's a God that's not a personification of the intelligible principles of cause, axioms, intelligence, and the paradigm for reality, or the God above that, the cause even of that, as awareness itself, the primary cause or the principle of principles, axiom of axioms. It's a historical force that allows, that grants self-righteous ignorance and fascism to whoever claimed to speak in his name. God will also, hey, you don't like brown people? God doesn't like brown people. You don't like women? God doesn't like women. You want to kill the Palestinians and take their land? God wants you to do that. So God becomes a dog or a servant, a slave, and an ally that pours wrath upon their enemies. God becomes people's God, whose highest vision is that they become the rulers of mankind. So that's the current nature of our problems currently being called back. Right at the end. By the way, Jesus, that's your bullshit. That's blocking this conversation. That is... a spiritual force, not how we've understood true theology or the nature of God. A spiritual force that guides certain people through history. Okay, nailed it. What happens if we introduce a meaningful truth that's different than what someone is used to or challenges their current way of being? They will go through a interpretation response or a triggering response as their pathologos beliefs seek to hold on to themselves. That's called a counterattack. Jesus is in his counterattack. No, actually, the God I speak of is a creator God of my people. Again, tribal shit. God is necessary to overcome the power of evil that is spawned by the evil one, Satan. Okay, so now we address that belief with reason, with using the dialectic as our standard of talking to the worst kind of person, the worst kind of problem, or person with the worst kind of problem. Let's put it that way. So, first thing, redefine it, clarify it. I've got an ouchie on my arm. Oh, you have a protuberance on your elbow. More clear from the doctor than the patient. So then God and Satan are only opposites, but distinct and separate from each other, having the power to do and be what they do. That's it. He's just describing the seventh hypothesis. God and Satan, or good versus bad, or hot versus cold, or whatever is your principle, are forces or existing powers. So again, we are looking at we're not in the physical world. We're in the realm of mind. So there are forces or powers. So there is being of some kind. They have the force and power to be and do what they be and do. That's the first thing. He establishes whether you're in the world of becoming. They're just transitory causing forces that are coming in and out of style. Who cares? No real lasting power. We're not in that. We're in being and doing with power to be. So being and not becoming. So establish that. And what kind of being and becoming? Is it the third hypothesis, hierarchical system of growth and development through cause and effect, and as above, so below, or likeness of a caring, intelligible universe, helping us to perfect our art of dialectic so we can solve our problems, remove our ignorance, progress into wisdom, and then beyond to know the self? Nope. None of that. So we're in the seventh hypothesis, opposing that. They are opposite from each other. Notice the pairs in the self logos are not opposites. Whole and part are not opposites. It's greater and lesser, or model and copy. That's the triad self terms. The principle, the greater and the lesser. The principle of true, truth and false. That's the triad of terms in reality and thought. Not that, they're equal and opposite. Whole is the opposite of parts. Now notice, what's interesting about that is we've already established of those self-logos or self-terms that we use as thought and perception and understanding and things. We've already, earlier in this series, we've identified that so here's what we just mentioned a moment ago. The triads, lesser, greater, ultimate. The monads, beauty, justice, goodness. But the duads, the pairs, whole and part, that seventh hypothesis believers think are equal and opposite, We've already said that. Hang on a second. The fifth hypothesis, materialism, the dualism, the problem functioning, is to say we are only a part in time with differences, in motion, never at rest, always limited. There is no whole. For the materialists, the atheists and things, there is no principle. There's a strict line down the middle between whole and part. Belief has that line, but they identify with the lesser, accept the limits of religion. You can only be in time. It's heresy to be greater than Jesus or to not identify as a sinner. You are always a part. You are the Jews, the chosen people. You can't, and your functioning is negatively, violently, savagely towards anyone who talks about universal principles of a whole, or sameness, or likeness, or freedom. We talked about today understanding your state of mind being of the greater and your functioning being providentially, intelligent and caringly to the parts, to people's problems, to those who are sitting on that chair of midwifery. Talk about the second hypothesis being both the greatest whole of the greatest parts. That's necessary for the paradigm of this. And then the ultimate, what is the cognitive function of the self? Question mark. We have gotten a clue. It seems to be a kind of whole that transcends the parts, is prior, superior, higher, what was the word? Prior, superior, and independent from the parts, giving us this system here. The whole and part, or self and other. The whole of all parts is the Venn diagram here. The parts that are in conflict with the whole, belief in materialism down here. And the self is the kind of whole that is the cause of the whole and parts, but is itself transcendent and independent. So it's interesting that Socrates said, oh, okay, so your problem is seventh hypothesis. You think there is a being. So you're not in becoming, you're in being, which is the realm of the, so if becoming is the fifth and fourth, the human ignorance, being is the third and second, you're in there. So your problem is an opposition to the second or an opposition to the third. Oh, and your idea is those things that be are opposites. That's against the logos. They're not opposites. It's greater and lesser. So they're opposing the logos. They don't touch. That opposes the logos because logos is the vehicle for providence. They do touch. And they're at war, again, opposing providence. So he is saying, first of all, you're in this class of being and your problem is the seventh hypothesis. So he defined more succinctly in one sentence the nature of Jesus's problem. What a fucking genius. That's a standard for a dialectician. Oh, gotcha. 10th hypothesis, opposition to the self. 6th, opposition to being. 7th, opposition to logos. 8th, opposition to wholes in the physical world. 4th, 9th, opposition to anything. So first thing, it's like a game of guess who. Ruling out these ones and those two. So it's going to be one of 6 or 7. And then, it's a force that's opposite, not touching, at war, 7th. Oh, you have a protuberance in your elbow, says me pretending to be a doctor. So what are we doing? We're learning how to think like Socrates, which is the same principle of likeness. My coffee gets too cold too quickly. It goes from scalding hot to me talking for a bunch, yapping, and then it goes cold.
Calm your fucking tits.
Oh, okay. I'll calm my tits.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly.
It's sad. And I'm...
Please end kink shaming on your show.
It's not a kink, Emma.
Goon.
It's just gooning.
Why can't these guys shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus?
Because he's the main guy in the book. Second main guy, I guess. So, God and Satan are opposites against the Logos, not greater and lesser, distinct and separate, no providence, yet having the power to be and do what they do and be, so they still exist. So, seventh hypothesis problem. Do you also say that to contemplate, now he gets into the addressing the content. Do you say that to contemplate evil or to act evil is to act irrationally or unintelligible? There's our standard of goodness, just like we said the meaning of life is the dialectic, which makes use of ousia and logos. So there's our principle, our highest principle for what it means to be good. Therefore, what it means to be bad would be, in the simplest terms, the opposition to nous and understanding, ousia and logos, or irrational opposed to reason and understanding, and unintelligible opposed to knowingness. So to contemplate evil, that's not contemplating the good, unintelligible. To act evil, that's not the dialectic, that's irrational. See? Defining what it means to be evil. Act or contemplate, which is itself, by definition, unintelligible or irrational. Jesus says yes. That would be against your own spiritual goals. Come on. That's why the good, which would be intelligible and rational, is his opposite of evil. Next, do we share that for God to be a God, he must remain in a perfect state? That's what it means. It's being. Eternal. Therefore, being in a perfect state such that goodness would be, so be and remain in a good state. The essential mark of being a God. Yep. Socrates' next steps. Notice, question, answer, step by step. No debate bros or monologues or gish galloping or any of that debate bullshit.
Debate weirdo. No.
To debate weirdos, we say.
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist every.
You're a weird dude.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps,
Who want to kiss a fox.
And they want to kiss a fox. Don't they, Emma?
They're secretly turned on by it.
That's it. They're turned on by kissing a fox.
I'm just asking for some goon.
And they're just asking to goon.
Goon.
So, therefore, if God is remaining in its perfect good state, he couldn't step out for a moment and do bad things, which involves lying or acting. So of the activities he can do, he's not speaking or doing anything bad or evil. Of course, God can't. Can we therefore add in a new idea? So we've defined evil, we've defined God. Can we add a new idea? To be at war is the abandonment of the intelligible. Is goodness at war with itself? No. Do you solve problems by shooting someone in the face? No. Stealing all their shit? No. Abusing prisoners of war? No. Dropping bombs on bridges? No. Triple tapping girls' schools? No. So war is the abandonment of the intelligible. War is bad in principle. For you, okay, so Jesus' doubt comes in. The intelligible befriends the good. For us, it casts a deceptive shadow, whatever the fuck that means. Ignoring that weird stuff, the deceptive shadow of goodness. However, we must we not agree that Satan, as a personification of evil, oh, that's the end. That's the end of that dialectic. That's it. For you, the intelligence befriends the good, while for us it casts a deceptive shadow. That's Jesus accepting the conclusion, yes. Therefore, a God who's always itself in its perfect state of goodness can't act and or think or act, no, speak or act in an evil way. If war is acting in an evil way, which we defined as abandoning the intelligible, then therefore God, this God that you think is at war with Satan, can't exist. He sees that, but he doesn't conclude.
Debate weirdo. The internet is all robots.
Goon, 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 goon.
What's that a mark of? Not following the logos? To follow the logos is the dialectic. What's one of the stages of dialectic? Conclusion, definition, demonstration, division, conclusion. What's it called to be blocked from the logos? Well, it's the functioning of the pathologos, isn't it? Notice, not evil. He is demonstrating the cause of human problems, the cause of human badness. If Jesus carries this belief around, he'll justify killing the non-believers, whatever. All the stuff we see currently. So he's demonstrating a sick soul, blocked from accepting the conclusions of truth he has seen from himself, talking with the greatest dialectician perhaps ever. It's not evil, it's blocked. He doesn't want bad, he's blocked from accepting the good because of what it means to his dear beliefs he thinks are good. That's the nature of belief. The class of belief that specifically functions in opposition to understanding. That's belief as rulership. Is he evil? Under his metric, here is Jesus literally abandoning the intelligible or rational. By his definition, Jesus is evil, while thinking he's on the good guys' team. Now, he's not evil, he's blocked by ignorance. That's the difference. That's why for these people, their own reasoning destroys itself. Oh, really? We should kill all the evil people? Oh. What's evil? Oh, you know, the abandonment of the intelligible, or to be unintelligible or irrational, which humans carry as this in their soul, which causes their problems. Oh, by the way, is it a problem to be blocked from your conclusions of reason? Yeah. And are you abandoning the intelligible or the rational? Yeah. So you're evil. Oh shit, I guess I am. Now they won't say, oh yes, I guess they am. They'll say, I'll kill you for saying that. But there you go. So there's our dialectic. So you can memorize that, practice it with your friends. The God at war can't be a God at all. Let's get rid of this. Here we go. Number 1. So evil involves either contemplating evil or acting evil. Your mind or your functioning. To contemplate evil is unintelligible, against knowing, against ousia, against the logos. To act evil is irrational, against the dialectic or understanding. Gave us an insight into what good would be. To contemplate the good or to act good is the ideal, both of which is achieved through the dialectic. So number 26, the reason why the meaning of life is the dialectic. To define the essential mark, so the definition of God, to be and remain in his perfect state, abide eternally in his own state, to preserve his nature. This is what it means to be. Eternally abiding in your own nature, that's ousia, by the way, being. Making it eternally good. Now, there's another, our question is, of the first hypothesis, which is above ousia, does it have its own special kind of ousia as the 11th hypothesis? Uranos and its special kind of activity. Chronos, but that's a different question. We're carrying it with us on our quest. So, step 1, what it means to be evil. Step 2, to remain good. Step 3, if you are eternally good, you can't speak or do that which is false or or evil. Step 4. War is the abandonment of the intelligible. Therefore, war, 4, is the abandonment of the intelligible, which is what we defined as evil, 1. So war is evil. We also said that God cannot act evil, that's 3. So 1 is not equivalent to 3. And we've also said that this not acting evil is the nature of God. So 4 equals 1, war equals evil. Evil cannot be speaking or doing good. So 1 is not 3. And speaking or doing good is what God has to be. So 3 can't be. 3 is equal to 2. So if 4 is equal to evil and doing good is equal to God, 4. So if 1 is not equal to 3, if evil is not equal to doing good, 4 is equal to 1 and 2 is equal to 3, then also the things equal to each other are equal to themselves. So there's our axiom. If A equals B, war equals evil. And C equals A, or C equals B, God equals not being at war. Wait, sorry. Let's try that again. If A equals B, if 4, war, equals 1, evil. If 3 is related to 1, so 3, doing good is not evil. So A equals B. Now it's not exactly equals, but it's the same thing, same principle. C does not equal B, then that also means A and C can't equal each other. War cannot equal doing good. And if war is, so no war equals good. A is to B, A equals B. No war equals good. And God equals good. So C equals B. God equals good. Therefore, this axiom, which we've been using all the way through this series to demonstrate what an axiom is, a necessary principle you can't prove, but you need to accept and use to play the game. You can't prove until maybe you reach the logos of self. If A equals not war equals good, and C equals B, God equals good, then A has to also equal C. If this stick is the same size as this ruler, and this carrot is the same size as this stick, then the carrot will also be the same size as the ruler. That's the axiom we're using in the highest kind of way to address the fundamental nature of the most dangerous and most common belief of our age. That's the cause of human death, destruction, and suffering. So therefore, if not war equals good, God equals good, then God will equal not war. C equals A equals B, C equals B, then C will also equal A, because things that are equal to each other are equal to the same thing. The God will also equal no war. Therefore, it seems very simple. There were 4 steps to identify 4 terms to make the jump. But you needed but it comes down to just 3 terms, not war. Not war. 4 is evil and therefore not 3. So very simple. Simple axiom, used very simply. Not war equals good. God equals good. Therefore, God equals not war. Now, it took us some work to see it. It took us some time to see the significance of it. It took us Aphrodite to see it's worth doing. It's the meaning of life. It's necessary. Without it, we won't reach our highest goals. But once we see it, it's simple and obvious. Not war equals good. God equals good. Therefore, God equals not war. Therefore, the Abrahamic religious people who are bringing this world to, justifying their injustice, their murder, their exploitation, and bringing the world to its destruction, fundamentally are wrong. Using the most basic principles of reason and thought itself. Not an opinion, not a belief, dialectic truth. Simple, right? But significant, meaningful. So we've defeated the Abrahamic God. Hooray! We're like in one of those JRPG games where you start by collect 5 flowers for the local blacksmith or for the local botanist. And then the end of Act 4. Defeat God himself. Whoa! I love JRPGs. Even that's charming and it's funny. Collect flowers, defeat God. Alright. So, we've defeated God. A warring God that will destroy everyone. Hooray. Because he doesn't exist. Next. Should we agree that Satan, as the personification of evil, would lack the ability to plan and act intelligently towards any good he desires because his actions cannot reflect what is good or intelligible? So we've already defined evil as unintelligible and irrational. So we're using that first thing and we're adding another term to it. Therefore, planning towards any good you desire. Let's find that. So number 1 from before, contemplate evil. We've already got, what's this over here? Get rid of this mess. Put this down a little bit. We've already got in our back pockets. Evil. Evil. There's evil. The evil equals unintelligible and irrational. That's step 1. Step 2. Planning requires reason. Now, he didn't do this step. He did this all at once, but we can break down his thinking so we can see it obviously. There's the third hypothesis, reason. A good goal, like the second hypothesis, equals intelligible. Therefore, Satan as the personification of evil, which is kind of a step. That's a step we can take for granted. Therefore, Satan as personification of evil cannot plan or contemplate a good he desires. Jesus, handwriting. Come on, Jed.
Calm your fucking tits.
Calm my tits about
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind.
He's so far up his own ass.
Come on. Calm down, Emma.
Listen and learn, morons. This is gangster.
That's right. Can't contemplate, think about a good he desires. So he can't plan towards a good. You can't plan because that requires contemplating the good you desire, and it requires planning. Planning is rational. The good goal is intelligible. By definition, evil is unintelligible and irrational. Therefore, Satan can't plan towards his good as the personification of evil. Now there is that extra step, evil. Let's put it in. Why not? Why not? It's only one line. Add that little bit of code in. This is the kind of learning that maybe it's taken us 1,000 lifetimes to be able to be in a place where we're reincarnated, where we live long enough to be able to think in this way, with the technology able to share ideas. A philosopher like this, or like this book, or me, could have been burned at the stake 100 years ago. And the technology to communicate all around the world, to find like-minded people. This could have been 1,000 or 100,000 lifetimes in the making. We can take an extra 2 minutes to add an extra step. And we can also take another minute to do a stupid sound drop.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
That's not
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Bunch of gooners on my sound.
Gooner bait.
That's gooners.
Damn, you really are a gooner.
Some goons. Weirdo.
That's my soundboard. Goons and gooners and
They're like a goon.
They're a gooner.
They feel like a goon. They're a gooner. Oh. Wasting your reincarnation time with my nonsense. We'll add it in. What's color? So Satan. So evil is unintelligible and irrational. Planning is rational, and a good goal is intelligible. So planning towards your goal is both. Satan, not Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball Z, but Satan himself. Satan is the evil. What personification of evil as well? Personification of evil. Therefore, finally, Satan cannot plan. Plan or contemplate the good he desires. Nope, not finished yet. Could he therefore go ahead and marshal his forces and prepare for the upcoming battle between good and evil if his plans were irrational, and if so, worthless? Step 5. War? What is it good for? Whoa, whoa, whoa. War. Let's move this up here. Contemplate. Okay, let's do this all again. So evil is, by definition, unintelligible and irrational. Planning is reasoning and good goal is intelligible. So planning for your goal is both. Satan is the personification of evil. What? Oh yeah, therefore Satan cannot plan or act intelligently. Rational and intelligible is intelligence, both. Act or plan or act intelligently. Towards any good he desires. War requires marshalling forces well, doing that good. Forces and preparation for battle. In the upcoming war against God. In upcoming war or battle with God. Let's start it this way. Oh, goodness. This thing has struggles to get rid of little dots. Upcoming preparation for battle. Upcoming battle with God. Which is rational. So that's not really a step. That means rational planning. Therefore, because of 1, evil is irrational and intelligible. Satan is evil. Satan can't plan or act intelligently. That is involved in marshalling forces and preparation for war. Therefore, number 6. Satan can't do war. Participate in war. So we've defeated Satan. Satan, as defined by the opposing but of equal kind of metaphysical, so equal and opposite forces against the forces of good to explain the nature of human problems, which is used to justify the most horrific injustice in our society. is defined by the metaphysical force in opposition to God, who is fighting a war against God. So literally, the Americans are saying we need to be as unjust and disgusting in the name of Israel and the Christians to bring about Armageddon. So Jesus comes back because we believe in this God, which can't exist because he can't be at war, because that would be unintelligible, which would be evil, which is not in God's nature, because God by definition has to eternally exist and always abiding in the goodness. Also the Satan that they're trying to defeat and always pin on the guys that they want to murder. The Arabs are Satan, the Poors are Satan, the non-Christians are Satan, the Palestinians are Satan. It's always the same. Seventh hypothesis, the most common, it's a way of vilifying other people who, again, from cavemen savagery, different from the cave we grew up in, kept us from being eaten by saber-toothed tigers, but with the conditions of human evolution, with the asteroid killing the major predators, we didn't have to evolve properly. We evolved very quickly into language and self-reflection, and therefore we still haven't addressed that caveman problem. That's what we're trying to do here. That's the human condition. But also double-edged sword, because of our blind savage loyalty to our problems, we still can find some person or some family or some politician or some religious person holding on to a family clan belief that will be surfaced if we want to save humanity from its extinction by doing good things. So when we introduce the good, the bad or our family clan loyalty beliefs will be surfaced, meaning our species has the potential, because of how much we're holding on to our beliefs, clan beliefs, to address all of them. We could be a species that addresses every single type of clan belief that is in opposition to the good, making us master dialecticians, which could be our race within the purpose of our race within the cosmos. It's definitely, we've proven 27 times, it's our purpose for life, the meaning of life. As human beings, it might also be the purpose of our role within a greater cosmos, says the book, or infers the book. So, Satan can't exist. We defeated Satan. Okay. So, Satan, being the personification of evil, would lack the ability to therefore plan and act intelligently, as we defined evil, towards the good he desires. Therefore, war involves planning and acting intelligently to plan. Therefore, Satan can't be at war. So proud. This is Jesus' response. The correct response is absolutely. Remember what the oracle tells us all the time.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Imagine people. The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
This is the other thing.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't
Can't reason themselves out of a problem they didn't reason themselves into. And how did they get into their problem?
People don't
logic their way into stupid positions.
They stupid their way into stupid positions.
They stupid their way in.
People don't
logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Imagine people
changing their positions and improving
for the better.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
There we go. So, we're doing the logos part. Remember, there's two parts of the human purpose, the human condition that we address with the dialectic, our logos and our pathologos. You can't surface your pathologos unless you're doing the logos. The more meaningful, the more significant, the more personally relevant, and the more about self and reality, the logos, the more likely it is to trigger your pathologos. Therefore, excellence is a standard. Seek to master whatever you're in. Ideally, master the dialectic. In doing that, you're seeking mastery of the logos, which will surface your pathologos. That's what we're doing here. We are seeking mastery of the dialectic, which is mastery of the logos. How are you going? Are you being triggered yet? I bet you are. Make sure you're taking notes. Eventually, you'll find a repeating pattern in the state. Take notes about the state of mind, the thoughts, the words that come up, the feeling states that come up. Your dreams will give you helpful insights into it, but ideally, of course, find yourself a dialectician that you can talk to about your problems, ideally with the dreams in your back pocket, like a transcription of your dreams, most recent the better, to address your problems. Now, we are seeing this in action. This is what it looks like. We're addressing the root cause of a fundamental false belief that is the most dangerous, that threatens human survival itself. It's also the most common, and Jesus has it. And as far as I'm aware, he's been a pretty influential person with problems in our world. He's talking to perhaps the greatest, well, completed his work here, the greatest human being. So the greatest talking with perhaps the most influentially bad person. Whether or not he wanted his influence to be that way or not. So we are seeing it. So, therefore, Satan can't be a evil force and also do war. Jesus' reaction is, that makes sense. Your reasoning is great and meaningful and personally relevant to me. It will free me from this ignorance and this injustice. And those who listen to me, them too. Wow. Thank you, Socrates. You're the best. If I had $1 million, I would give you all of it for saving my soul. Because that $1 million I can't take with me in this lifetime, beyond it, but definitely this purification from a sickness, I can. It will be worth $6 quadrillion, the sort of benefit you've given me. That's the correct response. Let's read Jesus' response. So proud is Satan that he accepts moments of victory to satisfy his evil nature. What the heck does that even mean?
They're a weirdo.
You're a weirdo.
Die mad about it.
Bitch.
Die mad about it, says
Very
Jesus.
interesting crap.
It's very interesting crap.
He's so far up his own ass.
That's right.
Dead-eyed. And what the hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
That's right. See? What does the Oracle tell us?
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into positions.
He's stupid at his way in, and therefore...
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
Reason alone, logos alone isn't enough. But it's necessary first step. You can't do a pathologos reflection on your problem unless you've first seen that it is wrong. Need logos too. But we're also seeing what it looks like. As a dialectician, in this life and beyond, hopefully for anyone watching this, this is what it looks like. What a perfectly succinct, tightly knit, six steps. We didn't have to appeal to images. We didn't have to appeal to personal beliefs. We didn't have to appeal to anything of the physical world. These are principles, axioms, and self-logos terms. We are playing with the gods, the self-logos. It's not an opinion. This is truth. What it looks like when you talk in a true way as a dialectician is, so proud is Satan. What? Based on what? Is that a principle? Where did you pull it out from? Did you pull it out of your ass?
It's a total shit show.
Exactly, Emma. He just pulled it out of his ass. He's proud, is he? Oh, okay. Did you just make that up? Interesting how you've just made up something that seems to be consistent with your beliefs. You didn't make up that he was humble. You made up that he was proud. Why not? Could have picked humble. Humble is a vice. Lying about yourself to diminish your nature. He accepts moments of victory, does he? Accepts it. We're not talking about accepting it, pal. We're talking about being able to achieve it, to be able to plan for it, So not only are you inventing stuff, it's completely irrelevant and doesn't make, it's a tangent to what we're talking about, to satisfy his evil nature. His nature we defined as unintelligible and irrational. How can you satisfy your nature by doing something in opposition to your nature? He is talking gobbledygook. He's not following the logos, and he is ultimately rejecting a conclusion he just saw. Counter-attack. For ourselves, as with our loved ones, as a dialectician, and hey, maybe you can get on Fox News one day and talk to one of the fascists who is justifying the murder and impoverishment of millions or billions of people and is threatening the extinction of our species, and say, look, I'm going to be a referee. You just made a conclusion. Everyone at the table followed you. You didn't accept it. Why? We can look at the way of your tangent. You've added this. You've added something about his nature that we didn't bring in. You didn't address the question. What are you doing? Accept the rational conclusion. If not, you're in a problem. We can all learn. We better not. You can only get so far as a pundit or politician. Your job, we cannot ask you questions that go beyond your block. You're out of this conversation, and we can keep an eye on you in future because we know you have this block. Who is in the conversation still? Now you answer. Same logos. We're not changing the subject. We're not going on a tangent. We're not allowing speeches. We're not allowing the ignorant morons to talk. We are still following the person, the dialectician, or the argument on the table. But you're out. Who's in? You are in. Now, therefore, conclude. Not you. You. Conclude. Then Satan can't exist. Or, when it's a one-person thing, let's see what Socrates does. What is it worth if the end is known to overcome those moments for victory? For surely you agree that Satan's battle plans and actions must fail if they lack intelligibility. What is it worth if the end is known to overcome those moments for victory? I don't quite understand that sentence. This is the sentence that I'm struggling with in this book. What is it worth? What is it worth what? Giving up on your nature if the end is known. If you know you're going to win, or what? Well, surely you agree that Satan's battle plans and actions must fail since they lack intelligibility. Oh, okay. So we know that the end is he'll fail. Was it worth it? So you're saying he's going to betray his nature and suddenly not be evil for a moment? But we know that he will fail. So what's it worth? Why does he do that for? Why does he betray everything and become magically different if he's going to lose anyway? Because we know he's going to lose, because his battle plans would lack intelligibility. So this is amazingly artful. Why is it artful? Remember earlier today when we had our friend asking questions and we had to benefit him by tying it back to what we are talking about, the dialectic? So too, we are addressing Jesus's tangent. Hey, you're saying that he's willing to drop his nature to be rational so long as he reaches victory to satisfy his evilness? We are addressing that. Well, we know he's going to fail. So what is it worth? So we're addressing his tangent to see it's irrational. Doesn't make sense. While bringing it back to the point, which is, we know it's going to fail because his battle plans lack intelligibility or rationality. Because that's what it means to be evil. And that was our point. Our point was, he can't even do the preparation because he's irrational. And Jesus has said, well, he can do the prep work because the end is going to be good. But we say, no, the end won't be good either. So either in the preparation or the end battle, he's going to lose. So even, it's a means to an end, kind of like what the religious conservatives and capitalists say currently. Oh, we can do this bad thing, wage slavery, bombing, whatever, AI surveillance, because a good thing will happen. Even in that thing, it can't work that way. Only it's reversed. We can do a good thing, rational planning, for a bad thing, beating God. And the devil winning in planet Earth or whatever. No, he can't win. From the same principle. Jesus, the depth of arrogance keep all from seeing the obvious. Now we have mentioned this is interesting reaction to saying, hey, he can't win and we can't do the planning and he can't win the war. Depths of arrogance. That's very similar to God works in mysterious ways. It's a bullshit response. This is what it sounds like talking to someone in a block. They talk in empty phrases, catchphrases that mean nothing, or thought-defeating cliches. It is what it is. Who knows? God works in mysterious ways. But also we can see that the implication is, well, Satan is so arrogant that he can't see the obvious that he's going to fail. But also, this could be his sentiment towards Socrates, the person speaking the truth as a dialectician that threatens his dearly held family beliefs, which threaten his dearly held image of his dearly held mum and his dearly held dad and his dearly held friends and even his dearly held cult or religion he started around his own dearly held beliefs. Threatens everything he loves the most. He shouldn't love the most. It's the cause of his problems. His job is to meet a dialectician and remove the love for these false things. But nevertheless, could be his sentiment towards the dialectician himself, which is an interesting thing we have to be aware of as dialecticians. It's not just truth, it's humanness that we play as human beings, as dialecticians. Again, a thought-defeating objection to the conclusion, making shit up. The depths of arrogance. Where does this principle? We didn't conclude on this principle. He's just pulling us out of his ass.
Off the perky, call me Kirky.
He's off the perky. Call him Kirky.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Emma?
Freaks.
That's right, Emma.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
I do.
Goon.
By talking about gooning. Goon. So, the depths of arrogance keeps all from seeing. All of us, is a general principle that you're pulling out of your ass from seeing the obvious, does it? What do you mean by arrogance? How does it block us in that way? Why did you just assert it? Again, this is what it looks like to be in a he's just searching for anything, any phrases. He likely got this from growing up. It sounds like something he's repeating from someone else. It's one of those cliche bullshit things that dumb people say to sound smart. That's what it's like. That's what it's like to talk to someone in a problem. Can't do the dialectic, blocked from their conclusions, and their response is this kind of shit. Debate dweeb.
Debate weirdo. Debate dweeb.
So, Socrates' response. Our response if we were talking to someone like this. And if Satan was vanquished in such a way, would he not come to know in good overcoming that evil itself was annihilated and only good exists? So in that war that he can't plan for and he can't win because of the nature of evil, unintelligible and irrational, would Satan come to know in good overcoming evil that good itself was annihilated and only good exists? So what's this about? At first I thought this was him saying, look, this would have happened already. If these are eternal forces, then surely good would have overcome evil 100 bajillion million years ago. And so there should be only good now. But maybe it's him saying that, well, knowing that only good exists, isn't that intelligible? Isn't that rational? Let's see where he goes. The evil of Satan moves across the earth, leaving destruction and misery in its wake. And its constant victory over good gives ample proof of its existence. So now he's telling us what he uses as a justification for this false belief in the devil. The existence of... And what the existence of evil within man's destruction and misery. Ironically, the destruction and misery is inflicted by people who believe in the devil. That's the irony. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're creating the problem and using the problem as a justification for the thing that allows them to create the problem. Much like, the Israeli state. They created and allowed for the event of Hamas on October 10th to happen so they could justify further genocide. Their genocidal actions caused them to create this fiction that they used to justify further genocidal actions. Same thing with 9/11 and the Vietnam War and all of the wars that the imperialists have to justify, to manufacture, to justify to the public. They did a thing that's bad. They point to the bad thing they did, say, oh, look, that's evidence of those other people being bad. Let's be bad further to those other people. That's the sickness of punishment. If a bad thing happens, you don't use it to do more bad, you idiots. If you allow for punishment to exist, you're just creating the conditions for people to lie about bad things happening so they can feel justified in doing further theft or murder. So we have to get rid of punishment. Always. Because then the worst of us will use that as an excuse to torture people, to abuse people. And we are seeing this in the highest possible way here. The belief in evil and Satan allows for people to solve problems not through understanding and dialectic, universal principles, meeting all universal material conditions so we can do this. Nope, we solve problems by killing the non-Christians or the non-Jews or the non-Muslims or the non-imperialists or the non-capitalists or the non-MAGA or the non-white or whatever clan you're in, anyone non. We point to this destruction and misery that you create and say, oh, look, it's the existence of evil. Socrates, can what has been thoroughly defeated continue to exist? This is what made me think that previous thing about, this previous thing means if it could have been defeated, it would have been defeated by now. But let's keep reading. As long as the continuous war rages in the soul, it mirrors the cosmic war. If evil, says Socrates, is only found in man and his deeds and thoughts, why not look for the cause where it springs up, rather than in a war between heaven and earth? So I think this is what he was getting to this whole time. He's saying, hey, if it is defeated, then only good remains, right? Right? And if it's been defeated, it can't come back later. It won't continue to exist, right? He's prepping. Right? And you've just said the evidence for evil is within the thoughts and actions of man, right? Right? So if we address the negative thoughts and actions of man, dialectic, then we have defeated evil, because that's the only place evil exists. And if we defeat evil, it can't continue to exist. And even evil will know that only good remains. Well, we all will know that good remains. And we don't have to invent a story about war existing between heaven and earth. You seek to end the war within mankind, but that leaves its source untouched. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. You're saying the evidence of evil is in the thoughts and actions of man, right? So where will evil play out if it has no soul, no home in the soul of mankind? Meaning, hey, if we can understand the root cause of human beings' negative thoughts and actions that lead to our death and destruction and misery inflicted on ourselves and each other, and that was the only thing you used as evidence for Satan, and therefore he wouldn't have, and also if it was a thing that exists, he would have no place to live. We wouldn't have to create a way of explaining human problems by a fairy tale of Satan anymore. Have we just defeated Satan? Truth is silent before, again, another catchphrase platitude, which we've said already, repeating empty, let's see it in the book. Empty phrases. So, the mastery of the dialectic or reasoning applied to mind itself, third hypothesis applied to second, can bring a quietness of the mind where everything can drop away for self to see what it is that sees, when sight opens itself up to itself, the self. So there's our purpose. Equally, drowning oneself in empty phrases breeds chaos. So here we see what Socrates defined as our purpose in one sentence, and the nature of human ignorance in one sentence. We see it being called back with these empty phrases Jesus keeps throwing out whenever he is forced to conclude about something that challenges his false, sick beliefs. So what are we doing? We are seeing how we address the negative thoughts and actions within the soul of man. Socrates is defeating supposed evil, showing you don't have to create a story about the devil to make sense of human problems. And that would also follow you don't have to make up a story about Armageddon to talk about how to solve human problems. Let's keep reading. So, an empty phrase. Truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. But I can see why you say what you say. This is the God works in mysterious ways bullshit. A thought-defeating cliche. And here we have a wisdom bomb dropped on his ass. Hey, buddy. Our mysteries reveal truth. Yours conceal it with piety. In other words, Socrates just said,
How is it legal? How is it legal?
how is it legal for you to be
Anything for a click, no matter.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusting.
Even a bad girl.
You're getting
Die mad about it, bitch. Unbelievable.
unbelievable sluts these days. Says Socrates to Jesus. No. The truth is silent. Fuck off. Before the mysteries of man's existence. No. You're supposed to look for mysteries. That's what our purpose is. But I can see why you say, oh, really? No. Our mysteries reveal truth. It's not silence. Yours conceal it with piety. Being pious, religious, being polite to the fascist right wing's existence. Bullshit. Being nice to the existence of billionaires and capitalists and landlords. Bullshit. True human functioning, the dialectic, reveals truth. Yours conceal it. With piety. Boom.
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck, indeed. Jesus' response to being owned epically. And then we dab. Oh, cringe. That's too old. No. I mean, we do this.
Gooners.
Gooners.
Gooner.
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
Oh man, I'm just doing 6-7. Ha. Oh, I feel cringe.
You actually are too stupid to interact with the rest of the world. You should literally be in a labor camp for the rest of your life. You should be in the mines for the rest of your life. You should lose the right to vote because you're such a fucking idiot.
In the mines? For doing 6-7? I suppose. Your own people do not know the dreadful power of Satan, so appeal to a special knowledge. So this was you can't know truth. This was a rejection of understanding and intelligibility. So literally, truth is silent before the mysteries of man's existence. Evil. As we define evil, unintelligible, you can't know truth, or irrational, you can't understand it. Evil. His own definition of evil. How do we defeat evil? Master this dialectic. Don't have to blame anyone. Your own people. So that was an abandonment of intelligibility in principle as a sick belief he pulled out of his ass. But here's another one. Your people do not know the dreadful power of Satan nor his devious nature. Appeal to special knowledge. Oh, I know it and it's special. I know the cause and it's a secret and you can never know. Economists do the same thing. Oh, capitalism, because it's so complicated. It's the Dow and the markets. You can't have a house or own anything. And we have to own everything because of the Dow and it's too complicated for your small brain. People use this to justify religion. Oh, it's too stupid. You're too stupid. We have to give you fairy tales for hope. For hope. Yes, maybe Jesus one day. Maybe Muhammad one day. Oh, you're too stupid. You're so stupid. You don't know. I know. I'm special. I know. You don't know. I know. You don't know. You're too stupid. Bullshit. Fuck all religion. All fairy tales. All lies. Stop infantilizing human beings by claiming you know shit and they're too stupid to know shit, so we should lie to them in a harmful way rather than providing the conditions for them to understand, which is their literal fucking purpose for being alive. You idiots, says Socrates to Jesus. I hope your own people don't know the dreadful power of Satan nor his devious nature. His evil is so vast and pervasive that no thought of good nor desire for good could emerge from his nature. All right. But Jesus, did we not agree that God, being in a perfect state, could not coexist with evil? Or he would not be in a state that is pervasively good throughout. So God could not clash without departing from his true nature of goodness. Equally, could Satan enter in a state of goodness of God without becoming to that very degree good. So we've gone from God, this kind of God can't exist because he can't participate in a war. This kind of devil or Satan can't exist because equally so, he can't have the rationality for planning in a war. Jesus saying, but what about the evil and the thoughts and actions of man? And Socrates said, well, if we're able to address them, then have we defeated Satan? Because that's the only thing you're pointing to as existence of evil and the devil. Jesus says, well, hang on a second, but shut up, you can't know truth. Or he is so specially evil that you can't save it with goodness. Socrates pulls it back. Didn't we just say that this God can't exist in a relationship with the devil because that would require God to leave his perfect nature to engage in a unintelligible activity called war? Equally so, for Satan to be on the plane of existence of goodness, he can't be completely without goodness. If God is defined as being in a perfect state of goodness, and the Satan you are defining as being evil so vast and pervasive, no thought of good nor desire for good, then how can he be at that level of goodness of God? So they could not clash. Satan could not be in the presence or likeness of, be in the presence of God without being in its likeness or ousia. Nature, equally so, God would become less good by engaging with this moron. Evil, not moronic, evil. You're very thoughtful with your choice of words, and I do see where your thought will carry you. But again, not concluding, because
people don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into positions.
He didn't logic his way in.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
Therefore, you can't reason him out. Hey, I did a little dialectic for two steps using the oracle on the soundboard. Hooray. What do you say about that, Emma?
Do a poggers.
Exactly. We poggers it up.
Everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome. I said it.
Yes, it's good that you say it. You're very thoughtful with your choice of words, and I do see where your thought will carry you. You would say that each would be in a totally different, God and Satan would be in totally different states, having different natures, and so no battle could occur between them. So with a stroke of reasoning, you would banish the thought of the coming Armageddon. Therefore, the false, disgusting, sick belief that's being used to justify the extinction of humanity and perpetual war and enslavement of the Epstein class and the religious class, Armageddon, wiped away with reason. They can't coexist in a battle because of their defined natures. There can't be a war. There can't be, therefore, justification for an Armageddon. We must therefore look to, if the Satan doesn't exist as the cause of human problems in thought and action, another way of understanding human problems in thought and action, and another way of overcoming those problems within the soul. And what do you know? We have that on the board. Where is it? Yeah. We have it. Cause of human problems is an allegiance to our sick beliefs, and let's change the pen. Our dearly held beliefs that we are seeing causing these images, including an image of Satan. We are seeing how people defend it. We're even defining it as the seventh hypothesis, opposition to the Logos, as these 5 negative hypotheses giving the class of pathologos beliefs. So, we are seeing Jesus functioning in an evil way by his own definition, rejecting intelligibility and rationality as he rejects the conclusions he comes to. That's evil in his definition. So isn't that ironic? The very thing he's interpreting onto reality, he is being himself. This is the cause of human problems, the nature of human problems. Just as the Jews in Israel and America are doing a genocide while crying victim. The Republican MAGA doing mass injustice and murder and disgusting things, all of the disgusting things you can think of, while claiming to be victims. They're doing the thing they are interpreting others are doing to them. That's therefore not evil, but the ignorance of fourth hypothesis pathologos belief to explain the negative thoughts and activity in human functioning, which has been misunderstood as the evidence for evil. So evil thinkers, people who believe in evil and the devil, are the ones being evil by their own definition. Of course, that shows that they're not that they are evil, but if thinking evil exists is evil, it defeats itself. It's self-defeating in principle. It's inconsistent and irrational. Therefore, we have an understanding of the cause of human problems. We have equally so Socrates demonstrating wisdom, the use of his actual vision of reality and understanding of the parts, the second and third hypothesis, wisdom, to communicate in a way that can defeat the actual cause of human problems, not with Armageddon, but with dialectic. We've even, from the use of this book, been able to understand the classes of pathologos belief that we can deal with, the worst and most common, the seventh hypothesis. And we also touched on a few times that when we're free of that ignorance or pathologos, we are free, therefore, of the 10th hypothesis, pathologos self. Only when we free our ignorance can we free the fundamental 10th hypothesis, opposition to the first, allowing us to reach our ultimate goal of the self. So, the nature of human problems understood without need for evil. The belief in evil, seventh hypothesis being one of them. The way we solve it, wisdom and the functioning of the dialectic. No need for God or the Abrahamic God that battles with evil. And also our ultimate goal. Put the two of that together, the purification of our pathologos self, an understanding of the self through the dialectic, preparing ourselves to know, seeing itself. Sight opens itself up to itself as the self, and seeing or awareness can see itself as the one self, or the good self. So, there we go. Whoops. With a stroke of reasoning, we've banished the thought of the upcoming Armageddon. So, what have we got? We've got our four steps and the use and the 4 steps of the dialectic that proves that God can't exist. Again, another fantastic demonstration of an axiom. If two things are equal to each other, then the thing they're equal to, if something is one thing is equal to something and another thing is equal to it, then they are equal to what they're equal to. There's a better way of saying that. Two things that are equal to each other are also equal to what they're equal to. So, that God can't exist. The 6 steps to show that a warring Satan, a warring devil can't exist. And now we can, next time we'll nail down that last dialectic. Now that we've defeated God and defeated Satan, can we banish the thought of the upcoming Armageddon by nailing down the steps to show that, therefore, the solution to human problems as a war between a God who's eternally good and a devil or Satan that's eternally bad can't exist because they can't coexist on certain planes without becoming like themselves, which God can't do in principle, and neither can Satan in his principle of always being bad. Then there's a secret hidden 4th dialectic, and that is, therefore, also, not only is that solution to man's problem with Armageddon impossible, we can also address the underlying justification for Satan to exist by pointing to problems in man's nature, is man's thinking and activity, by saying, using your own reasoning, if the only thing showing you that Satan exists is harmful thoughts and actions of man, and we're able to address that in a different way, is there any need to posit a mysterious higher force as its cause? No. If you did have already posited this higher mysterious cause of human nature, then we've beaten it. If the only thing that gives a home to Satan is the negative thoughts and activities of man, which we're able to understand and address in a different way, A, no need to invent Satan in the first place, and B, if you've already invented Satan, we've just defeated him. And if we've defeated Satan, then only good remains. And what was the other step of that? If Satan was vanquished in such a way as we are describing, dialectic, would he not come to know in good overcoming evil, that evil itself was annihilated, and only the goodness of the Logos exists within your soul? So if you go through that purification of the source of your negative thoughts and activities, tangents, distractions, dreams, all of the ways that it manifests are all messages. If you therefore go through philosophical midwifery, you've defeated the source of negative activity, pathologos, and only good remains. What's the definition of the good? The good self, the self-logos. Therefore, while we talk about Armageddon in society, we're also most importantly talking about you and your soul. Your problems are not because you're sick or evil or a sinner or at war with your own dark side or sinning nature or whatever. Bullshit, says Socrates. You can therefore understand and demonstrate, rational and intelligible, that in the activity of philosophical midwifery with the help of dream analysis, with the aid or the guidance of a dialectician, you can remove the source of those problems, purifying yourself from the pathologos, and only the logos remains. That's our goal and our purpose. Once again, reason 30 why the meaning of life is the dialectic. It leaves only the good or the self-logos to remain and defeats Satan and Armageddon. Because what has been thoroughly defeated cannot continue to exist. So that's one of our questions. In midwifery, are we completely free of our problems? Seems like the answer we're being given is yes. Once you've defeated what has been thoroughly defeated, the pathologos won't continue to exist. But so long as the war rages within our soul, it mirrors the cosmic war. Equally so, as above, so below. So we're actually inventing our own dialectic here, which is inherent. So there's a mysterious gift left by our author that I'm just starting to see now. Therefore, what's he using? As above, so below. Therefore, the dialectic that the author is wanting us to add in, if we can overcome the war raging on our soul, which is our pathologos fighting against our soul's purpose and nature to seek knowing of the self-logos and the recognition of the self-logos inherent of the self, if we can end that war between the self-logos and the pathologos, then, and it as above, so below, mirrors the cosmic war, not only have we defeated the war within ourselves, we've defeated the cosmic war between God and the devil, or Satan. It's a different dialectic, but all of the pieces are there for us to see. That's reading. That's why we take our time. That's why we go through it the way we do. This is a new kind of reading that we are learning, applied to a complete, self-sufficient, intelligible work reflecting the Logos itself. We are doing Apollo. The fun we have of putting it together and seeing these things, Aphrodite. The result of putting Aphrodite and Apollo together, Hermes. Hermes is the way that we make our upward progress, elevating souls like Hermes to intelligence itself, nous, and ultimately to the self. Ending the war within our soul, which even Socrates said, I thought that was my nature of my problems. I grew up with these idiots around me too. Fulfilling our purpose both here and beyond. Or fulfilling our purpose here, benefiting us now in this lifetime and beyond. Why? Because if the only existence of evil is found in the problems of man, then we don't have to invent another cause for it. And if we had, we've defeated it. And then once it's defeated, it can't continue to exist. So what have we done? The mysteries of the dialectic reveal truth, while anything opposed to it conceals it with piety. Allegiance to the family clan tribe or religious clan tribe or Abraham's tribe. Same old bullshit. So, those are the three dialectics. 1, the God at war with Satan can't exist. 2, Satan that has the intelligence and rationality to do a war can't exist. 3, if there was some sort of battle, the upcoming Armageddon that these current people are seeking in there with their power over our current society. This battle can't happen because for them to participate on the same level, they would have to become like themselves, which would make Satan less evil and God less good. And the fourth one, the mysterious one, is the one that the author has set out for us to discover for ourselves that we only would have realized if we've been reading the book in the way we've read. Have I mentioned this book? This book is a fucking masterpiece. So what have we done? Defeated a warring Abrahamic God, defeated the existence of Satan, wiped away the thought of an upcoming Armageddon, and find a way to end a war and conflict that we carry within our souls, opposing our own self-logos nature due to our pathologos loyalty to clan beliefs that's reflected within ourself as it is within the cosmic. Giving rise to a question, what therefore is the purpose of humanity itself within a cosmic whole? I mentioned this book is a goddamn motherfucking banger. Fuck me.
I have a sickness for the thickness.
We have a sickness for this.
I love this guy.
We love this.
Making ice cream is a good and courageous thing.
And Emma chiming and she helps too. You help too sometimes, Emma.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
We would scoop the moon for you, Emma. Wow. Wow. So, next time, I suppose, we'll reveal the 2 dialectics we have on the board. Again, standard for our mastery and purpose for humans. Can we talk to the worst person, or the worst class of person with the worst class of pathologos problems? We're seeing what it's like. Again, Jesus had to be intelligent and insightful enough to be able to endure this conversation. If you ever tried talking to a religious person, good luck getting to this stage. So we need the best kind of person with exemplifying this problem to be able to demonstrate the highest use of the dialectic. So hooray for Jesus in that way. Good luck getting this far in a conversation with a religious person who is not at the level of intelligence and insight as Jesus. He had a glimpse. He did work with, as he said earlier in the text, he did work with Hellenic philosophers when he was young. So fantastic demonstration of what we're learning. So let's nail down the first 2, get the other one on the board that gets rid of Armageddon, and then do our final one, which is the actual dialectic of the self-logos as opposed to the logos through the dialectic, therefore ending the conflict within our soul. Therefore, if that's the only thing that points to the existence of devil, then we've defeated devil in principle in another way. In a way that shows actually how we solve problems. Oh my goodness, it's a win-win.
Win. It's a win.
We always be winning up in this channel. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you in the next one. And follow along and donate to the channel and all those things if you want. And join the Discord. And I'll see you next time. Bye.